You damn right. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. Thursday before the Super Bowl. Radio Row rolls on. We'll be talking about the big game today, of course, some other NFL notes, and we are hoping to visit with two Hall of Famers. It's not often you get to say that you may get to talk to back-to-back Heisman winners, but coming up at 12:15, cross your fingers, Earl Campbell. Let me go chronologically. Tony Dorsett, 1976 Heisman winner, and Earl Campbell, 1977 Heisman winner, scheduled to join us at 12:15. But I know they're in demand. I know they're doing interviews all over that place today. I did see that they talked to 105.3 up in Dallas earlier. So hopefully we'll get to do that at 12:15. It's Chad and Zay on this Thursday. I'm Chad Hastings. Joining me, as always, is Isaiah Collier. There's a little NBA to talk about today. Zay, what's up?
The great Biggie Smalls said in the song, "Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?" Yeah, man. Crazy day. NBA trade deadline. Happy Thursday, everybody. Super Bowl week. And yes, I am hoping to talk to two Hall of Fame running backs also.
Very, very cool stuff, man. Yeah, I've been nervous and jittery about that one ever since I heard the idea about a week ago. So hopefully that'll happen at 12:15. Because of that, we'll take our break a little early. So, Zay, let's make sure we get your thoughts in on these two big NBA stories. We got to go right to Kevin Durant for the biggest one. It was late last night. Kevin Durant to Phoenix ultimately in this deal. Give me your thoughts on, you were just talking about the Brooklyn side. What about the Phoenix side? How dangerous did the Suns just become?
Very dangerous. They're the team to beat right now. I mean, when you look at the playoffs and it becomes a half-court game, it's not like the regular season. You know, it's not that high pace. Everybody's running up and down the court. Nobody playing D or really giving a damn. You just do enough to get yourself to the playoffs. And the young teams, they usually get the 1 and 2 seeds. But the teams that know, they just want to make it. And the Suns right now, they're the team to beat. So when you have Kevin Durant, maybe one of the best scorers of all time, arguably one of the best scorers of all time, with Devin Booker, who dropped 70 on the Boston Celtics, I think before he was even allowed to drink. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Paul, we know what he could do. Now he's the 3. This is perfect for him. At this point of his career,
yeah, you're not asking him to do
nothing. Like Chris could go stand in the corner, and he's a good shooter, knock down those shots, and he could take advantage of his matchups because you're not worried about him. And he's top 5 in assists. So Durant and Book, plus TJ Warren, he could hoop too. If y'all remember in the bubble, TJ Warren was getting 40-point games. So you got to worry about him. They still got DeAndre Ayton. He was the number 1 pick in the draft just a few years ago. Now he's the 4th guy. DeAndre Ayton's the 4th guy. He just dropped like 35 and 10 and 15 or something like that in a couple of games ago. So, man, this is a hell of a deal. They just got a new owner up there in Phoenix. And, yeah, this is the NBA. This is what we love about it. Trade deadline, a big blockbuster move like this. It's going to be fun to watch and see what happens in the West.
Just big-time stuff there. That ends up being the biggest story in the NBA when it looked like it was going to be the Russell Westbrook trade. Ends up being a 3-team deal there between the Lakers, Minnesota, and Utah. Ultimately, the big parts of this one, Zay, correct me if I'm wrong, Russell Westbrook ultimately going to Utah, although nobody thinks he's going to actually play there, and D'Angelo Russell, along with Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, end up with the Lakers. So what did the Lakers just do for you?
That's some pretty big moves. Those are some pretty good moves, especially the core that you're surrounding with LeBron and Anthony Davis. At the end of the day, Chad, the Lakers are going to go as high as Anthony Davis goes with his health. And we saw Anthony Davis during LeBron breaking the record. He doesn't look too happy to be there. Like, that was a disgrace, that photo.
God, that was weird.
Video of him on the bench just sulking. Like, this is supposed to be a big-time moment. This is a guy that helped get you from New Orleans over to L.A. in a way you haven't lived up to what you've been expected of. You haven't done your part. LeBron has.
And would he have a ring without LeBron?
He would not. He wouldn't be a top 75 player without LeBron, which I don't think that's
Yeah.
I think they need to throw him out. They can't do it now, but that's an NBA issue. Having him as a top 75 player of all time, Anthony Davis is not that. So
That's crazy.
I don't know what, like Russell Westbrook and Darvin Ham got into an argument at halftime, apparently, in that game where LeBron broke the record. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but yeah, they're not going to go, far with anybody as long as Anthony Davis isn't healthy. But Malik Beasley, he could really shoot it. Vanderbilt's a good two-way player. And D'Angelo Russell, he could go at times too. Sometimes he plays a little too cool for me. Like, he doesn't give a damn. And that's always rubbed me the wrong way because D'Angelo Russell, coming out of Ohio State, he was the number 2 pick. Like, he was supposed to be it.
Yeah.
Like, that next guy at 6'5" point guard. He has good vision. He's a nice southpaw type of player. He shows flashes of James Harden every once in a while, but it just a lot of time it doesn't look like he cares. So, now you're going to LA, which that's who drafted you. We'll see what happens. But as long as Anthony Davis is going to be in and out the lineup, and if Anthony Davis is just going to, sulk the way he's been sulking, then it don't matter, especially with what the Phoenix Suns have done.
So big names on the move. The trade deadline is this afternoon. Kevin Durant to Phoenix, the biggest story so far. Obviously, you got Russell Westbrook out of L.A., and then last night you started to see the next biggest story move on, and that is Kyrie Irving and his first night in Dallas. We will get into that discussion at some point. We got a lot of football to get to, though. Let's take this break early. We want to make plenty of room for Earl and Tony D. Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett scheduled to join us at about 12:15, so please stay with us. This is The Horn. All right, we are rolling through a Thursday and about to have a really, really cool interview. Chad and Zay with you on this Thursday. Real quick, what you got right there?
This is the Love Unlimited Orchestra.
Ooh. Is this the trend? So, that sounds like
Together Brothers. Barry White.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You don't know nothing about this.
No, why am I thinking about the Come On Around?
Because they stole it.
Right. This is what's sampled.
They stole it, yeah.
The Love Unlimited Orchestra. All right. Very nice. I knew I recognized it there. All right. Well, that's how we get started musically. And the way we get started with interviews today is an all-timer, kids. Let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. And shout out, of course, to our man Super Bowl Stu for getting these interviews set up. He told me about this one a little while ago. And oh, have I been pumped about this. Check these numbers out. There are only 10 men. 10 that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and won the Heisman Trophy, and we're about to talk to two of them.
Wow.
Back-to-back Heisman winners, 76 and 77. It is Tony Dorsett and Earl Campbell, live from Radio Row. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. How are you?
Doing fine. It's good to be here.
So great to talk to you guys. We need to let everybody know there's also a documentary coming out this weekend called The Perfect 10 from NFL Films. It's Saturday at 7 on Fox, talking about the unique list that you guys are on. And in terms of the two of you, I was trying to think of what to ask you guys. Let's start out with kind of your friendship, because I do hear all the time about how close you guys are. How long have you guys been friends? And Earl, I'll start with you. When do you remember hearing about Tony Dorsett, and when did you guys become friends?
I think I began to hear about Tony when he won the Heisman. I was going to be senior at the university, and I was working at junior before my senior year. I was working a construction job on campus, and this guy we took a lunch break, and this guy said, this guy in Dallas is getting in a lot of trouble. He's doing everything. He's running Tom Landry crazy, and of course, he says, and he won the Heisman Trophy last year, and he made $1 million. I said, let me see that paper. And of course, that was Tony, and that's when my relationship with him started, and then we used to play each other our preseason, and him and I got to talking, and ends up now we spent, I think, if it wasn't with Covert, that was the first time you had about 8 years, spent about 8 days with me down on the ranch in Tyler, and Hot Rod buddies. Yeah, so we've been friends a long time.
Yeah.
So, Tony, what's your perspective on that? When do you remember hearing about Earl the first time and then, starting the friendship and all that?
Well, when he won the Heisman Trophy, but the deal was I was born and raised up in the Pittsburgh area, and the Houston Oilers used to play the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, whoa, this guy is making all this noise. I'm getting just the iron steel curtain. I'm like, hold it, man. What's going on, man? And Earl, I didn't know much about him when he was in college, but when I saw him in the NFL and seeing the things that he was doing to the Pittsburgh Steelers with, Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, whatever, I can't remember all the names. Lambert and all those. Mm-hmm. Man, it was crazy. I was like, God. I was like, and I used to, when I got to see Earl, I said, man, Earl, why don't you let
that's one of the first things asked.
Why don't you let one man tackle you sometime, man? Hey, man, you gonna get hurt, man. Go down. You can't get him. He said, Dorsett, they be talking next. He said, I got to get him back. I said, all right, bro, get him back. Good luck. He was the best at it.
Yeah. But we have a lot of fun together,
No doubt.
Yeah,
it's amazing to see people, East Texas is a big Cowboy fans, and they see Tony come down he be in our parades and stuff with our truck club, and we have a lot of fun.
Well, fellas, it's an honor to talk to both of you guys. Both of you guys did it differently, but really dominated in the 80s and whatnot. How prideful are y'all for both being Heisman winners and then just the whole Heisman crew. You know, how close are y'all? And, you know, y'all just talked about y'all's friendship, but, you know, just with this whole Heisman thing, how close are all you big-time Heisman winners?
Well, we had a pretty good family, you know, Heisman family, you know, and the thing about it is, you know, especially the two of us, we're running backs, you know, and you know we take a little pride in ourselves, and, you know, especially winning the Heisman Trophy and doing those kind of things. But the thing is man, one of the things about, you know, for us even being here today is because the longevity that we had in the National Football League and college and et cetera. So, you know, I take a lot of pride in the fact to say, you know, I'm in with Earl Campbell.
I take a lot of pride to say, hey, my husband was right after Tony Dorsett. I know y'all know who that is. So, you know, it's just a lot of fun being a part of the Heisman Club. But this H to H thing, it brings it to a whole nother level. You know, sometimes you sit around and all the things that you do, you're doing business and you're trying to have a family and you're trying to be with the grandkids, but yet and still you get in another group, the H to H guys, that's Heisman to Hall, and only out all this football and college and pro football, there's only 10 guys that ever did that. And 2 of them are right here, best of friends. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And for the people who don't know, I didn't realize this. So Tim Brown, it says, along with some other members of the group, have launched this brand that Earl, you just mentioned, H to H, the Heisman to Hall of Fame. Tim Brown is the only receiver in that group. Yes. Roger Staubach would be the only quarterback in the group, and you guys are a part of a group of running backs there. Charles Woodson, the only defensive player. So such an elite group. I think of you guys as elite anyway, elite running backs that I've gotten to see play in my life. But as I woke up today, I wouldn't have realized that list was that short. Did you guys realize that it was only 10 guys that have ever done those two things?
I didn't. I had no clue. That I thought it would have been more players that have won, you know, gone to the Hall of Fame and won the Heisman Trophy. Heisman Trophy didn't win going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. But the thing is it's not, and so it's an elite group of athletes that have done what they done.
It's a lot of people,
big names.
It's a lot of people play college football. They didn't go to pro football.
Right.
It's a lot of pro football players who just got in there and didn't make it. You know, they was good in college, but to say that you have a Heisman Trophy and a Hall of Fame, you sit down and think about how blessed God is, and that's just another aspect that He let happen in your life.
Wow.
Fellas, the game has changed a lot since y'all used to play, and, you know, nowadays they like to see the ball go through the air. How do y'all look at the game nowadays and how it's played compared to when y'all used to play?
Well, I tell you, you know, I still love to watch the running game. I understand the fact that, you know, things have moved on a little bit, so they don't depend as much with the running backs as they used to, because they got a lot of great quarterbacks out there that are playing and with wide receivers. But the thing is when the going gets tough,
you need that running back.
When the going gets tough, you know who they coming to. They're going back to those RBs to see what they can do. And so, you know, I mean, it's a good game. I like the game.
Was really pulling for Michigan this year, and Harbaugh, I thought he was going to go back into pro football. But if you want to watch a football game that's fun, Michigan Wolverines run that football, and I like that side of football. I mean, it's just something different. But I know this, when they get down close to that goal line, instead of trying to throw the ball on both levels, I think if they would get that running back involved, they would see
absolutely
that it's less room down there when the running back gets the ball in his hand.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I'd say when you get down to that goal line, Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett, Marcus Allen, Barry Sanders, all good options. All good options down there.
I would say this, before we end and before we finish talking about everything, I started a business. You know, you do these autographs and you go around the country, but I started a deal in Las Vegas about a year ago, and I was just doing autographs. Now I'm a part of the company. I'm one of the owners of the company, and it's called Timeless Athletics, and that led into Fairway Mortgage Company with Pat. And we do a lot of good things, and I think that's the thing they're going to have to see in this documentary about HH, that we do a lot of different things. We do a lot of business. We have, like I said, families, and I just think there's still another side of us with this HH.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, Earl, that you mentioned business, because my man Isaiah does have a question for you. Zay, you're trying to find some of that sausage, correct?
Yeah, Earl, love the sausage, man. I'm a big fan.
Good.
I know, Tony.
Yeah, it's good.
Where do you live, man?
I live in Austin.
All you have to do is drive over to your local HEB.
That's true. That's true, but we also work with your son, Tyler. He has his own show here. You know, great show. I know you're proud of him.
That is the sausage king, Mr. Tyler Campbell. He took my job. So
I need to be talking to him, huh?
Yes, he run our part of the sausage business. Tyler's a great kid, and I like to say thanks for you guys working with him. And he takes his own weight. He wants to do different things in life, and it's a great thing he's doing.
Yeah, I know you fellas have limited time today. You're talking to a lot of different people. Real quick, Tony Dorsett, tell me about these Cowboys running back situation. There's a lot of people wanting to talk about Pollard and Elliott and what happens next. You got any ideas for them?
Not really. I'm just saying, just keep doing what they're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing, doing it your way, and hope for the best. Hope you don't get yourself injured or anything. That's the thing about it, is to try to stay as healthy as you can, and when your opportunity comes, make the best of it.
Gotcha.
So you're saying you're leaving all that Pollard and Zeke and Jerry saying, huh?
Yeah.
You can't get out of it.
Okay, I don't want to say Tony Dorsett said no, he didn't do it. I didn't.
There you go.
I appreciate what those guys do. They both bring something to the table, and that's a good thing to have as an owner or a coach of a team.
See, as everybody can hear, 33 still got the moves. That was a great move right there. Zay, one more, and then we'll let these guys go.
Hey, Tony, so let me ask you this, because there's a guy that works for our station that's a legend in his own right named Michael Bucky Gottbolt, who played with you at the big 33 game up in Pennsylvania in high school. He claims to know you. Do you recognize that name?
Wow, man, you taking me way back. Yes, I do. Well, how is he doing nowadays?
Bucky's down in Austin, man.
He is?
Yes, he is.
Man. Yeah, man.
He's Howard Cosell on radio.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is a good guy. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Hey, fellas.
Hey, thank you guys very much.
Hey, man, thank y'all. Y'all got a real quick pick on the game? Eagles, Chiefs, who y'all got?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
But I'm an NFC man. I like the Eagles.
Oh, okay. There you go. They're going to differ on that pick. Fellas, thank y'all so much for joining us.
Thank you, fellas.
They were a menace. They just was so tough on us when I was playing.
Yeah. I can't root for them, Tony, but I think they're going to win.
Yeah.
Hey,
I agree. That's the way that's the way to put it. I think they're going to win.
There you go.
I can't root for them, but I think they're going to win.
Oh, I know that feeling. Hey, fellas, it was a pleasure to talk to you guys. You have something else?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, I used to say, the city of brotherly love, my.
There you go.
I said, them fans up there, boy, would kill you, boy. They were so hostile, man. They would throw water on us, beer on us, everything. And the only thing I liked about their fans was they talked to Tom Landry. They said things to Tom Landry that a lot of us players wanted to say, but we couldn't.
Man.
That's fantastic. Hey, y'all have a great day, fellas. Enjoy the rest of Radio Row and enjoy the game. And we'll definitely pump this documentary, man.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Oh, my goodness. Tony Dorsett and Earl Campbell. My goodness. At the same time. Did everybody hear the moment when Tony Dorsett started a sentence and Earl Campbell finished it? That was fantastic. Tony Dorsett said, when you get down towards that goal line, and Earl said, go with the running back.
Yo, this job is so dope. I'm literally rocking a neck roll, wearing Crocs.
Yeah.
And we just interviewed Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett.
That's incredible.
Are you kidding me?
That's amazing.
Wow.
And they both knew Bucky.
They both knew him.
Earl Campbell just called Bucky the Howard Cosell of Austin. Did y'all hear that? That was great. Oh, it's fantastic. All right, so not that you needed something else to put on your DVR list or your TV list, but you have got to check this thing out. The Perfect 10 is what it's called. NFL Films documentary coming up on Saturday night at 7. So we all know how it is on Super Bowl weekend. Super Bowl doesn't kick till 5:30 on Sunday.
Yeah.
So much pregame, so much stuff. We'll talk about tonight where the honors are coming up and you can see the awards. But this will be incredible. 10 men, and I'll list them for you here in a second, but only 10 have ever won the Heisman Trophy and then gone to the Hall of Fame. We mentioned it. Roger the Dodger is the only quarterback. Tim Brown is the only wide receiver. Dude, I could have thought forever. And I dig Tim Brown. I could have thought forever and not come up with Tim Brown.
What year did he win the Heisman?
Tim was 88.
God, he was so cold.
If I'm not mistaken.
Turning punts and stuff.
Oh, he was a total badass at Notre Dame, goes on to the great career with the Raiders, and does become a Hall of Famer. The only defensive player is Charles Woodson, much like Charles is the only defensive player to win the Heisman.
But he played offense really at Michigan. If
He
he didn't
did.
play offense a little bit, he wouldn't have got it.
Yeah, there's no true defensive player that's
There's no true,
ever won the Heisman.
Yeah, Charles Woodson was playing offense a little bit.
So Woodson is the only defensive guy, and then you've got these guys as running backs: Doak Walker, Paul Hornung, Marcus Allen, O.J. Earl, and Barry Sanders, and Tony Dorsett. Wow. I did not realize the list was that unique and that specific. Shout out to this H2H group. Tim Brown put it together, and it does stand for Heisman to the Hall of Fame. It's a 90-minute NFL Films documentary coming up Saturday.
I couldn't believe the notes that Stu sent us for this interview said, don't talk about OJ. I can't believe that. He's a part of the crew. What the hell? What are we doing? He's a part of it. He deserves to be there. If he's in it, he's in it, right? Why couldn't we ask the guys about OJ?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There was some stuff.
Yeah, some stuff.
There was some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody says that was great stuff. T-Bone says y'all killed it. Hey, we didn't do anything. We got out of the way. Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett. That is great stuff. So this is going to be one of those days where I call my dad and try to impress him. Because
same.
Over the years, it's one of those where it's like, hey, Dad, I got to talk to blank. And today will be a big one of those.
Oh, my mom's such a big Houston Oilers fan. I might be the favorite kid now.
Yeah.
Out of both my brother and sister.
There you go. That is cool. All right. And again, thanks to our man Super Bowl Stu.
Yes, thank you, Stu.
For getting things all set up there. Also, remember, our big game coverage throughout the week has been also brought to you by Texas Truck and Trailer. Shout out to the folks at Texas Truck and Trailer. I was communicating with Terry this week. That crew, like me and a lot of you Cowboys fans and Tony Dorsett, are rooting for the Chiefs this week. Terry's been a Chiefs fan since back in the 70s. So Texas Truck and Trailer, they know which side they're on. They are rooting for those Chiefs. All right, so incredible stuff there. By the end of this day, if we can say we've talked to Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett, Brandon Lang, and Jeff Howe, that's a pretty full day.
It's big time.
And our man Zach Lucero to preview the Flex Show.
Oh, that's huge.
That's a full show right there.
Yeah.
That's a full show. So all that hopefully coming up for you in the show today, but getting to start it with Earl and Tony Dorsett, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, the way this is set up, obviously I would have liked to have been face-to-face with those guys, but I will say, Zay, it does help the nerves a little bit. Because the times that I've had to go face-to-face with some of the greats,
Starstruck?
I freak out.
Yeah.
I do kind of freak out.
I feel you.
I've had a chance to, you get a little nervous there, but...
Oh, you saw how nervous I was at prep.
Oh, yeah.
You saw
both of us were.
You saw how nervous I was at prep. I was out here talking to Christina and Jacob and Patrick and stuff. I was like, yo, y'all, this is big time. Like, these guys are idols.
You don't often talk to a guy who's literally painted on a piece of artwork outside your studio.
Every time we take a picture with a guest, we stand in front of that painting.
Yeah, there's a painting of Earl right outside of our studio, and the level, Earl's level, in so many places, but what he is in Austin, but then you hear those guys talk about it. When you hear Tony Dorsett talk about it, that's why I'm glad I asked that question. For Tony, it was about the Oilers version of Earl.
Right.
So for him, it wasn't specific to the Texas part. Obviously, Tony's getting his pro career started as well. That was a great line Earl had about he's causing trouble up there in Dallas and everything.
Yo, hey.
That was great.
People on Specs text line, ask Bucky Godbolt tomorrow about their time at the Big 33 game, staying in dorms and stuff about Tony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett, He had a good time.
Do they still do Big 33 in Pennsylvania,
I
or did they
don't
get rid of it?
know. I feel like they do that Pennsylvania versus Ohio game or something
okay.
like. They do one of those
Because that used to be like one of the most badass high school all-star games ever.
Yeah, a lot of talent in that area.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Tony Dorsett, Hall of Famer and Heisman winner in 76. Then you got Earl Campbell in 77. And, of course, he ends up in the Hall of Fame. And we just talked to both of them. That documentary comes out Saturday at 7. Zay, tomorrow, do we have a scheduled time for your official Super Bowl prediction? Would you like to wait all the way to the end of the show?
Stems and seeds.
Stems and seeds
Stems
tomorrow.
And seeds tomorrow.
You need that long?
Yeah, I need that
okay,
long.
Fair enough. I will tell you, though, I'm really enjoying the way this week is going picks-wise so far because I can count on one hand the number of people I've heard pick the Chiefs. Sam Monson, earlier in the week from Pro Football Focus, was on with us. He picked the Chiefs. If you want to hear exactly why, you can go to hornfm.com. We got that interview posted. Also, by the way, thanks to Brian Billick for giving Bucky and Aaron some time. That was a great interview, and you can check that out at hornfm.com. Speaking of Billick, I'll tell you about that Ravens documentary in the crap bag. I watched it last night. So Sam Monson picked the Chiefs, and then Scott Van Pelt took the Chiefs, but I feel like he was doing it betting-wise. He, teased it and things like that. So it was like those two, but everybody else is going Eagles. I'm hearing Eagles, 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 and I'm just hoping that pisses the Kansas City Chiefs off enough to where that is their bulletin board material for the week.
Here's a stat that I saw that really stuck out to me, Chad, and you're going to really be able to relate to.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes has the most passing yards in the league this season. The Eagles, they have the best passing defense when it comes to yards per game.
Oh, here we go.
Last time two teams met with both of those statistics, when your Bucks beat Rich Gannon and when the Legion of Boom beat Peyton Manning and the Broncos.
So you're saying the defense matters in those games.
Just the tad.
Just
the tad.
So now we come back around to why I'm picking the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's just, throughout my life, I've gotten to watch a lot of Super Bowls. I am to the point where this is 57. The first one I watched was Super Bowl 15. Not that I haven't watched quarterbacks be badass in a Super Bowl.
Who was that?
Clearly I have. Super Bowl 15 would have been Raiders over Eagles.
Okay.
So Jim Plunkett winning his first Super Bowl. That's the first one I remember. So basically it's the first Super Bowl after the Steelers run. I didn't see any of those. I didn't see any of the first four.
This is Madden's only Super Bowl, right?
Madden's was 11.
Oh,
so that's before my time.
Okay.
Madden's 11. No, this would have been Tom Flores.
My fault for aging you a little bit.
No, yeah. Don't make me older than I am. Please don't make me any older than I am. No, I think Super Bowl 15. So it was Tom Flores is the coach, and I believe Tom Flores that day became the first minority head coach to win a Super Bowl. I believe that's true.
Wow.
Y'all can double check me on that one. That's Jim Plunkett and Cliff Branch and that crew that won it. But through the years, when we have seen the truly elite defenses that can get after a quarterback, they end up going that way. Again, I'll talk about those Ravens in 2000. They were one of those teams. That Bucks team, you mentioned it, Bucks and Rich Gannon. Oh, my God. The Bucks got so much chip on the shoulder that week of prep or 2 weeks or whatever it was. They're playing the Raiders brand, and everybody just, not that they ignored the Chucky thing, but people just really put aside the their head coach used to be their head coach, right?
Yeah.
You don't think that's going to be an advantage for the team that he's with now? And everybody just leaned
It was only a year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the previous year.
Wow.
And it's one of the craziest, it to me is one of the biggest hauls for a coach in terms of a trade we've ever seen. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a bag of money. $8 million plus 2 firsts and 2 seconds for John Gruden. Go look what Sean Payton just went for. It wasn't that much. That was a huge amount to have to give up. And then they win that game. But yeah, if I'm seeing that, we get clouded by offense a lot, and I hope I get to come in on Monday and say I'm wrong, and Mahomes overcame it. But you just said that Rich Gannon, who, by the way, had Jerry Rice and Tim Brown to throw to. Let's make sure we're clear about that. He had those guys. Was Tim Brown still on that team?
Yeah, he was.
I think, okay. Mm-hmm. And Porter was on that team, and they could go now.
Oh, Rich Gannon was the man that year.
Charlie Garner, I think, would have been the running back on that
Charles
team.
Woodson on the other side.
Yeah.
They just got to the AFC Conference Championship where Woodson hit Brady and should have been a fumble, but wasn't.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because the Tuck Rule game would have been the previous season before leading up to Super Bowl 36. You're right. So all of that, and there was so much attention for them, and you had little old Brad Johnson as the quarterback of the Bucks.
Little old Brad Johnson.
People knew his name, but they didn't really
He was
think.
big. He was like 6'5", wasn't he? He was bigger.
He's a big guy.
Big guy, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody thought of that offense as badass. Nobody really thought of him as much, and it was all
Mike
about the
Allstott was
defense.
my dude.
And they could do what these Eagles do if you let them, just choke you out.
Joe Jaravicious.
Joe Jaravicious was on that
man.
team.
What a good three.
Keyshawn was on that team.
Keyshawn was good.
Keyshawn. Oh, and also Keenan McCardell has to be mentioned there. He had some big plays for the Bucs that year. So, yes, so there you go. Historically speaking, when a defense like this faces a quarterback like this, the defense wins. If you're rooting for the Eagles, that is good news for you. So let us know what you think. The Specs text line is 337-3776. All right, coming up at 1:05, our man Brandon Lang's going to move the interview to Thursday, and he'll be sitting right there on Radio Row with our man Super Bowl Stu. That's coming up at 1:05. Up next, though, in the crap bag, I'll tell you a little bit about that Ravens documentary. If you love pro football, you need to check it out. This is The Horn. Oh, such a good groove on this one. And Shooby Dooby Dooby. Everyday people. Sly and the Family Stone?
That's right.
Yeah? Okay.
Nice.
I thought that was right. That's a great vibe, man. This is one of those songs I don't know. Like, you don't have to, worship the song, but if you dislike this song, you might want to get something checked out.
Yeah. You need a shrink.
There's nothing wrong with this one. Sly and the Family Stone, who, if I'm not mistaken, did play Woodstock.
Did they really?
I believe Sly and the Family Stone were at Woodstock. Also, Love Unlimited Orchestra. I'm glad I know that now. I heard the sample. I heard it as the sample that somebody used later, but Zay played the original earlier. A lot of good stuff starting off the show today. We talked about Durant to Phoenix. We talked a little Russell going out of L.A., but mainly we talked to Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett and learned that they are a part of an even more elite group than we thought. They're not just Heisman winners. They're Heisman winners who are in the Hall of Fame. Now, I knew that. I knew they were both that thing. I just didn't know that was only 10 of them. Did not realize it. And there's a special documentary coming up Saturday at 7 on Fox called The Perfect 10. It's an NFL Films documentary talking about all of those guys. So check that out on Saturday. A pleasure to talk to Earl and Tony. If you have any thoughts for us, the Specs text line is there, 337-3776. Are you picking the Eagles? Are you picking the Chiefs? Somebody says, go back and look at the Eagles' schedule from this year and find me one win that impressed you.
It is Lil Wayne.
Don't say that too loud, though. Don't say that too loud.
Lil Wayne.
That's the part that could help. That's the part that could help the Eagles out. We don't need to give them any bulletin board material.
Chad, let me ask you this. With talking to Tony Dorsett and Earl Campbell and them being on that list of 10, do you think there's anybody currently playing that can make that list? Like, Derrick Henry's the only person I think that comes to mind. I don't know if I'm missing anybody or if it's fuzzy, but that's a tough list to make.
Absolutely.
Like, we're talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. You have to, yes, and yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Not the College Hall of Fame.
Not the college, because they should all make it.
This is the
Heisman.
Right, the Pro Football Hall of Fame and winning the Heisman at the college level. The two guys that you just mentioned one. The two guys that would pop into my head in terms of how do their careers finish out would be Derrick Henry and Lamar.
There we go.
Because Lamar's a Heisman guy.
Right.
So if things continue, and he's been an MVP.
Right.
So, and then it's just about, though, can he put together, because it's such a specialized.
Joe Burrow, there
such
it
a specialized
Thank
world.
you.
Joe
Burrow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Joe has a good chance.
Joe will be the one to watch. Joe's the one that's going to have a big-time shot. Again, only one quarterback ever, and it's Roger Staubach? Ever. Think about that. Now, I guess there was a big stretch, 70s and 80s, where you didn't have a ton of quarterbacks, and if you had a quarterback, it was one of those college situations. And then he went to the pros, and he wasn't a badass.
Yeah.
Chris Winky. So there are those guys that just
Tebow.
Earl said it perfectly, that it's just some guys live in one world or the other. You could become a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and you were nowhere close to a Heisman.
Yeah.
And the Heisman is just so darn specific to how you win the thing, and then you got to go and try to have a pro career. So it was a lot of fun to talk to those guys, but yeah, crazy to think about that elite level. Speaking of an elite level, this defense certainly had that elite level. Let's talk about a documentary you need to see, another one you need to see in the crap bag.
Chad's Crap Bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. So 2 documentaries to mention here. We just talked about The Perfect 10, Saturday at 7 on Fox. How about this one? If you have ESPN Plus, they may be putting it on ESPN soon, so look for it. But this Ravens documentary, The Bullies of Baltimore, Zay, I had multiple people this week telling me to watch it. You had asked me if I'd seen it. And then somebody else in the office, Craig Way, saw it and went, dude, you got to watch it. You got to check it out.
I'm watching it right after the show.
Jeff House walks out of here the other day and says, man, you got to watch this thing. And then last night, my buddy's wife, so let me lay this all out. My man Rick Sacamano is, if he had to pick, he's a Bears guy. But his son, his youngest son, has adopted the Ravens as his team. He likes the Ravens. He likes Lamar and the Ravens. So he sat down with his mom, who's a Dolphins fan, Marino freak. They sat down and watched the documentary, and she texted me. It was that good to them. She said, hey, have you seen this Ravens documentary? And I was like, my God, you're the third, fourth person to mention it. She said, we just watched it. 10 out of 10. You got to see it.
Wow.
So I carved out time last night and I watched it. It was fantastic. If you love pro football, especially if you remember that time period, but maybe you don't remember all the details, go back. They do a special event where they get together. I'll try to get them all. Brian Billick, Ray Lewis, Trent Dilfer, Del Rio, who was the linebackers coach, Marvin Lewis, who was the defensive coordinator of that badass group, Tony Siragusa. I think I got them all.
Did Tony Siragusa pass recently?
Yeah, well, that's the crazy part. They filmed this a month before he died.
Wow.
A month. So and it's set up incredibly well. They bring that up at the very beginning, then they go back to the event, roll you all the way through it, and at the end, they go back and show you those guys walking into his funeral. Like, it's sad, it's funny, it's happy, it's, the memories, it's all those things at once. But that Ravens defense was just so good. You're reminded everything they had there, what was on offense, when they needed it, things like Shannon Sharp and the change at quarterback, and they go through that whole deal. But it was incredible to watch and incredible to think back that anybody, apparently, and they showed everybody picking the Giants leading into the week. Tom Jackson, Chris Berman, the guys on ESPN, Chris Morton said, and they were picking these weird, ugly scores, and it was going to be low scoring, but they thought the Giants would ultimately win the game.
Kerry Collins?
Because Kerry Collins and the Giants in the NFC title game, they beat Minnesota. They beat
Randy
Moss and Minnesota 41-0. They thrashed them, and it somehow distracted a lot of people from what Baltimore was doing on the other side, which was just putting Tennessee and the Raiders in a vice grip. Just putting them in a cage and not letting them out. They were incredible. Won the Super Bowl 34-7, but the 7 was a kick return. The defense had a shutout in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
They just gave up the one kick return. So it was great. The other little fact I learned about this thing, of course it was this guy that did it. Trent Dilfer along the way lost his playbook at a game, and he realized it was Tennessee, big rival for them at that time. Tennessee went to the Super Bowl the year before with Steve McNair. He goes to the guys and says, hey, I know y'all are going to hate me for this, but I think I lost my playbook and blah, blah, blah. He says years later, Greg Williams walks up to me and admits that he took it, and they took it. So Greg Williams, of course it's Greg Williams, the Bounty Gate defensive coordinator, that guy. The I'll walk across the line, lack of human understanding, I'll break any rule that I need to break. Greg Williams is the guy that stole Trent Dilfer's playbook.
Wow.
And it still didn't matter when they played him in the divisional round. Shannon Sharp said, you could have as many playbooks as you wanted. Y'all weren't beating us.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen. Oh, man, it was fun. And I had to watch in secrecy since my wife is a Steelers fan. She didn't want any part of a documentary talking about the Ravens. But it was
watching it in like the back dark room.
Yeah, exactly. They also point out that whole season is after the Ray Lewis thing. It was the previous Super Bowl where the whole deal happened with the murder and Ray Lewis, and he what's the phrase? He misrepresents himself to the cops. Basically, he lied to the cops, and that's what ended him up in court. And obviously, there are a lot of people to this day that have their thoughts about Ray Lewis, but ultimately, he ends up having.
He had the blood on the white suit.
He goes to court. He's a witness in that, and then they showed him getting asked questions at Media Day, the next Super Bowl. ESPN did a piece leading into that Super Bowl with the Giants about Ray Lewis and how Ray Lewis was about to play in the Super Bowl, but these other two guys are dead, and Ray Lewis went to court and all these things. So they go into all these different things. There's some great stuff in there, man. The Tony Siragusa, Phil Simms thing I didn't know about. Go watch it. Bullies of Baltimore, the 30 for 30 on the Ravens is priceless. And I still can't believe they did my man Trent Dilfer wrong by getting rid of him after the season. I totally forgot about that part. Since I'm a Bucs guy, if you're a Cowboy or a Buck, you're my guy forever. And I wanted Trent Dilfer to get another shot with Baltimore.
Yeah, Trent, sorry it wasn't easy enough for you. Sorry they weren't impressed enough with your performance to keep you around.
Man, I did see that full comment. It's in there. It's in the 30 for 30. The context, obviously they didn't show all the raw footage. I'd like to hear that full conversation, but you hear it. It's Trent Dilfer trying to give love to the defense, but he is also trying to do the old man, it's easier to play quarterback now. And it was a weird dig, a strange dig at Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Did it flow with what was going on at the time when he said it?
I mean,
because it doesn't flow at all to me anyway.
It did in a way. In a way, I sort of understood where he was going. It was an old school, new school kind of thing. I don't think Trent meant it. I don't think he was meaning it to try to make himself look better. I think he was trying to make his defense seem badass.
Right.
And they were also, I think they had just come out of the discussion about Syracuse's sack of Rich Gannon that hurt him in the AFC title game, and that he didn't get flagged but got fined for it later. The league fined him on Monday, even though they didn't throw a flag on Sunday. And they were all griping about that stuff. So they were kind of, I think, in that mindset, and then Trent let that thing go and threw in the weird thing about Rodgers and Brady.
Yeah,
so.
if he didn't say Rodgers and Brady, I'm good with it.
I know.
We ain't even talking about it.
Yeah.
And he threw those guys out there.
He did.
Two of the greatest to ever do it
I know.
with his resume.
I'm not trying to get on Tom Brady. I'm not trying to get on Rembrandt, but, painting's easier now. Whoa, what?
Trent, shut your bald ass up, dog.
What are you talking about?
You need to worry about your anger management and not going off on these high school kids that you got caught on film doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
That's not
yeah,
right.
Trent, you need to relax.
Ravens documentary, it's out there. Check it out. All right, coming up next, you want to check this out every week. Normally we talk to Brandon Lang on Friday, but by tomorrow, he'll be headed back from Arizona, so we wanted to get him while he's on Radio Row. Brandon Lang from BrandonLang.com. Up next, he was talking Eagles and that pressure last week. Is that where he's leaning? He will give you some ideas for where he might be leaning coming up next on The Horn. All right, let's go hour number 2 on a Thursday. We are cooking up towards Super Bowl 57. Do you have the Eagles or do you have the Chiefs? We're going to keep talking about it right here. Chad and Zay on this Thursday. Now, don't worry. We talked about Durant to Phoenix. Big story out of the NBA. Trade deadline comes up later on this afternoon. Russell Westbrook is headed out of L.A., and Kyrie Irving tried on the Mavs gear last night and started off pretty well. Even without Luka, the Mavs got a win. In fact, they got their first win without Luka this year. They were 0-7 if he didn't play. Last night, they got the win with Kyrie Irving. So there is some basketball to get to, but you know we're talking lots of football today. We talked with Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett last hour, and right now we're going to have one of our favorite conversations of the week. We're just going to have it a day early. Let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. We wanted to catch him while he was in Arizona on Radio Row. It is the one and only Brandon Lang of BrandonLang.com. Check out Believe Me with Cordell Stewart on the Believe Network. Brandon Lang, how the hell are you, sir?
Wow. You are bringing me on after Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett.
Hey.
Have you lost your mind?
I knew you could handle it.
You're a star, too.
I knew you could handle it because not everybody that sits down after Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett can look them in the face and say, hey, did Matthew McConaughey play you in a movie? No, but he played me in a movie. Come on.
Yeah, but if you'd have seen that dime piece that just walked by where your boy is right now, oh my God. Lord have mercy.
Oh man,
There are so many women here that if looking good were a crime, they'd all be on death row. I mean, you got some talent here today. I'll say this. This is my 8th Radio Row. There's more talent here than any Radio Row we've had. Now, listen, I can't imagine for the life of me Vegas next year. That's just going to be – I guarantee you when I'm doing Radio Row next year, I am going to get Veronica and one of her friends, 2 of the hottest strippers Vegas has to offer. And for one day, anytime I get ready to walk up and do an interview, they're going to walk with me. There ain't a pro athlete in that place that are going to be like, who's he? That's who? That's Brandon Lang? Oh, wait, that's the dude McConaughey played in the movie? Damn, I want to roll like him. That man, look at my boy go. Yeah, boy. Anyway, there we go, guys.
That's fantastic. Brandon, when we talked to you last week, you were talking about that Eagles pressure being a key part of the game for you. I know it's coming down to the Super Bowl pick for you, and you might not be able to give us the absolute here, but are you still thinking about that Eagles pressure when you're trying to figure it out?
Oh, I'll give it to you guys. I'm not one of these guys that's like, you got to go to my website and pay me $50 for my pick. I'm going to charge you there. No, I'm not that guy.
All right.
March Madness is right around the corner. I was 11-1 last year at BrandonLang.com in March Madness, so it's my favorite sport to handicap. BrandonLang.com with my handicappers. College Hoop is where it's at. After this game, it's all about college hoop, so I got no problem. So let's go back in time. So I was 25-3, and I had hit 6 straight Super Bowl winners going into the Tampa Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl I had lost prior to that was the Denver-Seattle Super Bowl, where Seattle's defense just overwhelmed Denver's offense in anything Peyton Manning tried to do. Then I reel off 6 in a row. In that 6 in a row, I was very fortunate to win 2 of those. The Patriots coming back from 28-3 down and the Malcolm Butler interception. Other than that, the other 4 were pretty damn easy. And then came Tampa and Kansas City. And I got fooled again that I thought the KC offense would be able to negate the pass rush of the Bucs. And guess what? I got fooled again. And so now we come into this Super Bowl. And once again, for the 3rd time in Super Bowl history, we have the number 1 pass offense versus the number 1 pass defense. Last time it happened, Denver-Seattle. We all know what happened there. I get Mahomes this and Mahomes that. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes is an idiot. He could be the dumbest human being that walks the face of the planet Earth, and here's why. When he signed his contract with the Kansas City Chiefs, he had his girlfriend back at Texas Tech. He should have called her up and said, baby girl, I appreciate everything you did get me through Texas Tech, but I think I want to be a single guy. Now, why am I saying that? Because 2 days ago at Radio Row, Mr. Clark Hunt, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, was parading around here with his little old daughter, who's 24 years old, named Gracie Hunt. On a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 30. Oh, my God. One of the hottest, well-kept women you're ever going to see. She dated Drew Lock for a quick minute. If you're Patrick Mahomes, right before you sign that contract, you go, hey, Clark, if I sign that contract, I want to have permission to date your daughter. I'm going to marry her. You know how good looking our kids are going to be? And I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a quarterback. I'll quarterback 20 years. And my kid will be your next quarterback. And, of course, I'll be an owner because I'm going to marry your daughter. So not only am I going to quarterback you to multiple Super Bowl championships, I'm going to be a good husband for your daughter. We're going to churn out some great kids for you. And I'm telling you, one of them will be quarterback of the Chiefs. What you think, Clark? Good? All right, I'm going to sign it. Google Gracie Hunt. She's a big Instagram model, big whatever, worth about $1.2 billion.
Oh, yeah, I've seen her.
God. I mean, seriously. I don't know what you're thinking. I get loyalty goes so far, but, man, it was right there for him for the taking. Now back to what we're talking about. So I'm not going to be fooled again. I'm not. I'm going to lose with the better defensive line. I'm not. In the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, Mahomes had the turf toe. He wasn't 100%. There's so many similarities between that Super Bowl and this Super Bowl. It's unbelievable. This D-line is a problem. And furthermore, Brian Billick, who was at Radio Row yesterday, it was like 7 a.m. I was here and got a chance to talk to him real quick. He made a great point. I said, and that's one thing about being on Radio Row, being able to talk to coaches, because they break it down from an X's and O standpoint. He said the physicality of the offensive and defensive lines of the Eagles, you don't realize how good and how physical they are. And what I want you guys to do is at some point in the next couple days, I want you to watch the entire fourth quarter of the Kansas City-Cincinnati game. Because in that fourth quarter, Kansas City got the ball at their own 40-yard line twice and went nowhere. Because that D-line had worn down that offensive line of the Chiefs. They couldn't block Cincinnati. And if you can't block Cincinnati, you're not going to block the Eagles. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs' offensive line is better, but the problem is they have no depth. That's why the Chiefs are the worst point spread team in the NFL this year. They only covered 4 games all year long. Why? Because in the fourth quarter, they can't close out teams and put them away. Why? Because their O-line can't protect. They can't close out games. They can't pick up first downs. The D-line of Philadelphia is going to be a problem. Your boy B-Lang is on the Philadelphia Eagles over the Kansas City Chiefs. I will lose with the Eagles before I try to win with Kansas City. Besides, I can't trust a coach who hasn't missed a meal since Christ came back 2,000 years ago. I can't do it. I went to the Bellagio buffet 4 days before I came down here. Andy Reid's picture's right there. Do not let this man in. I'm telling you, he can't be trusted. He can't. Look at his mustache real close. You'll see some glazed Dunkin' Donut leftover stuff before he takes the field. I'm telling you.
B-Lang, let me ask you this, because this is your, 8th year being down there on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. You're a star yourself, but is there anybody that you see or have seen that you just got starstruck from, where you're like, man, that dude, he's been an idol my whole life. I got to talk to him, or you're a little afraid of talking to?
Now, listen, first of all, I'll talk to anybody. When you've lived your life and picked up a porn star in a bar, you can talk to anybody, okay? That's the feather in my cap. I acted like I didn't know who she was. Oh, epic. I knew exactly who she was. That's a whole nother story for a podcast where we can get a little more into it. But Deion, primetime. Primetime was rolling through here today. I mean, I am his biggest fan, man. I just think his energy. I just think him as a player. That book I told you guys to read, Boys Will Be Boys, about the Emmitt Smith Cowboys, Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. Deion comes into the book when he comes over from San Francisco. He's got 2 great lines. He's sitting at his locker, and he's sitting there. And Butch Davis comes down and says, Deion, we got a defensive meeting tomorrow, 7 a.m. And he looks right at Butch Davis and goes, Deion, don't do 7 a.m. He goes, Deion, it's 7 a.m. He goes, I just told you, Deion, don't do 7 a.m. He goes, I'll see you at 7 a.m., Deion. He says, okay. So Deion called Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones called Butch Davis. and changed the meeting to 8 a.m. And when Deion walked into the meeting, he goes, like I said, Deion don't do 7 a.m. Now, here's the second story. So the first day of training camp, Deion's sitting in his locker. Just comes over from San Francisco. And the strength and conditioning coach walks in and says, Deion, you got to lift. And Deion goes, I don't lift. Deion, everybody lifts. He's like, Deion, don't lift. Because Deion, I'm going to have to fine you for not lifting. He says, that's fine. How many lift sessions I got? And he tells him how many. He goes, that's how many? And what's the fine? It sounds like $50 or whatever. He goes, okay, great. He reaches in his locker, grabs a checkbook, writes out for the total fine for all the missed lift sessions. He goes, like I told you, Deion, don't lift. And the last story is, this is all in the book, by the way, Boys Will Be Boys. It's the greatest book you'll ever read. Well, the Lakers Showtime book about Kobe and Shaq's pretty darn good too. But Deion, first preseason game he played in, I think it was second preseason game, there's a sweep. And he comes up. And like when you're going out to catch a wave, you duck underneath the wave. Deion just goes down. And the whole left tackle, right, everybody runs over him. And the play goes behind him. And it's right in front of the Cowboy bench. And Deion gets up and looks right at the bench and goes, Deion, don't tackle. So I saw him down here. And his presence is unbelievable. I'm telling you right now, he will win a national championship at Colorado in the next 5 years. His presence is unbelievable. I'm a huge fan, man. He's something else, man. He's something else. People don't realize what an athlete he was. He played for the Atlanta Falcons on a Sunday afternoon and got to the World Series that night and actually pitch run, I think, in the 8th inning of that game. I mean, just a phenomenal athlete, and won a state championship in basketball, too. I mean, one of our greatest athletes ever, but his personality is unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, before we let Brandon go, Zay, the next time we talk to him, we'll be leading up to the tournament. Anything in basketball you want to hit real quick?
Yeah, B. Lang, last week you told us about Wake Forest again, and they won that game against Notre Dame, and then you also said Oklahoma State, and they won too. So you went back-to-back with us on the show last Friday. How about this week? I know it's about to be March Madness, and you're gearing up for that. How you feeling in college basketball?
I keep riding Wake. They actually blew out North Carolina the other night, and start riding Miami Hurricanes. That was a game on Monday you could have bet your children's unborn children's children. Duke had played on Saturday against North Carolina. It was a close game. It went down the stretch, and then they had to turn around off that game 2 days later and go down to Miami. Miami was a 3-point favorite, blew the doors off them, led wire to wire by 20. Keep an eye on Jim Laranga's Miami Hurricanes. They can go. I mean, go. Get you some. Of the Miami Hurricanes. He could go on another run here, like the George Mason run with this Canes team.
All right, that is Brandon Lang, and this time live, sitting there at Radio Row. BrandonLang.com. Check out Believe Me with Cordell Stewart on the Believe Network. Brandon, as always, we thank you for all the visits throughout football season. We will talk to you probably leading into that first week of the tournament and get a little tournament talk from you, but we always appreciate it, brother. Take care of yourself. We know you always do.
Here's some money you can make. You ready?
Yep.
Wait for the coin toss. The last 8 Super Bowls, the team that won the coin toss lost the game. Let me say it again. The last 8 Super Bowls, the team that won the coin toss went on to lose the game. So let's just hope the Chiefs win the coin toss. I'll be the happiest guy in the world.
There it is. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, B. Lang.
All right, guys.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett earlier. Brandon Lang being Brandon Lang right there. Man, I'm just that picture in my mind of Brandon Lang on Radio Row in Vegas. Next year, I'm not sure Las Vegas is properly zoned for all that.
Yeah, NFL might get into some serious trouble next year.
Mercy. Good grief. That's going to be crazy.
They really got to be like, everybody's going to tell their players, hey, watch out because it's dangerous out here. Don't embarrass us.
Mm-hmm.
Every single team and franchise is going to let their players know in a big-ass email, meetings, etc. Even the teams that make it, they're going to be told, yo, you can get into a lot of trouble very easily here. Relax.
Yeah. No, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
It's even different than like a Super Bowl in New Orleans is crazy. That city's got its own thing. Nothing's like Vegas, though.
Nothing is.
So that is going to be a wild time. You're absolutely right. For everybody associated with it. That'll be next year for Super Bowl 58. We're getting ready for Super Bowl 57. And you heard it right there. Brandon Lang leaning with those Eagles, going with the defensive side. So it's the Chiefs' job to overcome this history. Last 2 times, it's, what is it, Zay? It's the number 1 pass defense against the number 1 passer. Is that the matchup?
Yes. Yeah.
So the last 2 times that's happened, it's the defense that wins.
By a lot.
And it was Bucks over Mahomes. Is that right? No, Bucks over Raiders.
Yes.
And Seahawks over Peyton.
Correct.
Okay. The game where they snapped the ball by Peyton's head and nothing went right after that.
Yeah.
It was that Seahawks defense swallowed the Broncos that day.
Yeah,
that was 44-8, something like that. I don't think that's what we're going to see. But I've picked the Eagles to win by 17. I do think they're going to control this thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Patrick Mahomes makes me look silly. Come on, Travis Kelce, and make me look silly. But I do think that's going to be the case.
That's a huge mismatch to me. The Travis Kelce versus the Eagles linebackers, those are the weak points for that defense. Those linebackers are good, White and Edwards, but Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, and Gardner Johnson, the safety, he's been good all year long too. Those 3 guys, keep it up with Travis Kelce and not letting him go crazy like everybody else does in the league, that would be huge.
I think we're going to see instances just like last year. If you go back to the key play of last year's game when Aaron Donald got to Joe Burrow and slung him to the ground, there was, I can't remember if it was Chase or Higgins. Somebody was wide open on that play. I think we're going to see a lot of that. It doesn't matter that
it don't matter.
That he's wide open. What matters is that Mahomes is being swallowed right now. Yeah. What matters is Mahomes is being chased, and he has no idea. Even he has no idea that guy's open right now. I think that's what we're going to see. I hope Patrick proves me wrong. I hope Patrick and Kelce can work that magic, because those two have something that is so special where Mahomes will just give him a little head bob, a little nod, a little point. There are situations.
Yeah, he'll just go the other way.
I'm about to say, there are situations where Mahomes points one way, Kelce goes the other way, because that's what they've talked about beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And that matchup, that's going to be huge. But you're right, Chad. Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Hargrave, all those guys, man, they're animals. And one of the worst things for a Dallas Cowboys fan, even though you have Michael Parsons, him being first-team All-Pro, Hassan Reddick, you don't think that pisses him off? That a guy in his own division, everybody thinks he's better, which I'll take Michael Parsons over Hassan Reddick, but It's close.
Yeah, player for player, I'd take Parsons, but
it's close.
It's got to piss him off that he's on a defense that good.
It's close.
And he's about to maybe go win a Super Bowl. How about this one from the injury report? Robert Quinn with that foot, they say he should be good. There's another guy on that defense. They say he'll be good, ready to go. He's played in both playoff games.
Yeah.
Eagles and Chiefs coming up. Let us know your thoughts. Specs text line 337-3776. Up next, we'll talk a little flex. The flex show moves to tonight after we had to rearrange some things last night. We'll get that set for you. Our man Zach Lucero is going to come on and preview the show for you, let you know what's coming up tonight. Flex show is tonight at 8 o'clock after Longhorn Weekly. We'll talk to Zach up next. Don't move. Talking a lot of Super Bowl today as well. Plus, we're going to talk to our guy Jeff Howe, horns247.com. A Longhorn update from him. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on this week with the Longhorns, basketball-wise and football-wise too. Stay with us. It's The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk a little sinus and snoring specialists. And I know when I talk about sinus and snoring, sometimes it can feel like something's like, oh, no, I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. But we're going back to the basics here. We're talking about sleeping. We're talking about how you're sleeping, how you're resting. It is so important to the rest of your life, the rest of your day, and all of that. I went in 2017, found out I had moderate obstructed sleep apnea. I've told you, 85% blocked in the nasal passages. I took that sleep test home that they have. You sleep in your bed, sleep in whatever position you want. want, and they take that info and figure out what's going on with you. I had the balloon sinuplasty procedure. They got rid of my allergies for good, and there's a lot of different options they have. Remember, Dr. Slaughter at Sinus and Snoring Specialist, double board certified in ear, nose, and throat. That means he's got surgical and non-surgical options that others just don't have. So check them out, because whatever your situation is going to be different from others, but they have dealt with it through the years. Again, we're talking about over 20 years of experience here of knowing what to do to help people out, and they can certainly help you. Call and set up an appointment today, 512-601-0303, or you go to sinussnoringent.com. It's Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. What? The mattress stinks? Is that in the first line of the song? At
Did
first,
he say that?
At first, this sounded like something I should know, and then he said the mattress stinks. Now I'm not sure if I should know this or not. I do not recognize it, though, Zay, so I'm going to be out on this. Who is it?
Spinal Tap.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, that's what I should have guessed. Okay, because it sounded completely silly, and that makes sense. So Spinal Tap would be the band that they created for the movie making fun of hard rock and heavy metal back in the day. Shout out to all those guys. Shout out to Guest and McKeon. Rob Reiner, if you don't know, meathead from All in the Family. That's the guy that directed Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap is the name of the movie, if I'm not mistaken. So Spinal Tap making the show today, along with Sly and the Family Stone and Love Unlimited Orchestra.
So this is a spoof band.
Yes, the movie is really funny, too. That was I think it was Alice Cooper that said, I've never seen a better documentary for what our business can actually be than This is Spinal Tap. And they went out of their way to have a lot of fun with it. That's a fun little movie. Some of the bands hated that movie because they thought, because they were, kind of
taking shots,
being made fun of. But guys like Alice Cooper got it. They understood what that was. All right, so Spinal Tap helping us out on a Thursday. That is very cool. Thanks to Brandon Lang for giving us time earlier in the hour. And obviously, thanks to the 2 Hall of Famers, the 2 Heisman winners, Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett. They joined us in the first hour. I'm going to keep mentioning this throughout the rest of the week because I didn't realize it was happening. It's going to be a great documentary to watch for all of us. The Perfect 10 documentary, an NFL Films documentary. It talks about the 10 people, 10 men have won the Heisman and then gone into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Think about that. 10. That's it. And Earl and Tony are a member of that group. So you got a whole bunch of guys, obviously, that have won the Heisman, a whole bunch that are in the Hall of Fame, but the crossover is only 10 guys. Saturday at 7 on Fox is when you can check that out. A lot of talk about the Super Bowl, obviously. A lot of talk about basketball. Trade deadline afternoon in the NBA. Kevin Durant is going to Phoenix. Russell Westbrook is leaving L.A. Real quick, Zay, before we get to the flex segment here, what's this deal you just let me know about? A couple other big names on the move.
Yep. Texas' very own Mo Bamba. He'll be leaving the Orlando Magic because he was traded to the Lakers for Patrick Beverly.
Wow, Mo Bamba gets to wear that uniform?
Yeah, that's right.
How about that?
Yeah, I like Mo as a pro. I mean, he's not going to be, I don't know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he could be productive for that team, and he's definitely a good alley-oop threat. He could step out and shoot a little bit, and, it's just hard to be that athletic at his height, like 7'1", 7'3", around there, that crazy wingspan that he has. Good pickup, because Patrick Beverly's giving you nothing. All Patrick Beverly's doing is having podcast discussions. That's it. That's the only thing that's benefited from his L.A. tenure, having a really good podcast because he's funny and uncandid.
I was going to ask, can I assume that with Russell gone and Patrick Beverly gone and the guys that'll come in being in, that will at least improve the drama in the locker room?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It won't be as dramatic. You don't have to worry about Russell fighting with his coach and stuff or Patrick Beverly.
So the other night, they had Russell and Ham going at each other the night LeBron broke the record, just like they had Anthony Davis sitting down with that video getting out the night he broke the record.
Ain't that a B?
My God. Y'all can't just put it aside for one night and respect that the man's passing Kareem?
Nope.
And oh, by the way, 33's in the house?
Nope.
Don't y'all respect any part of this? Apparently not. Apparently not.
Yeah.
I don't even need you to respect LeBron. Respect Kareem. The captain showed up.
The game.
There you go. That's
the
it
NBA,
too.
the league.
That's it too. That may be the most treasured record in the sport, and you couldn't respect it enough to just put your stuff aside for one night.
LeBron's all mic'd up, telling Anthony Davis how much he loves him and stuff, and Anthony Davis just like, oh yeah. And I was like, bruh.
That's not good. Not a good look. Not a good look for those guys. But we'll talk some NBA trade deadline stuff as the week continues on. And obviously Durant to Phoenix, the biggest story there. All right, let's get you a flex segment. The flex show did not happen last night. I'll explain why, and we'll get you a preview of tonight's show. Here we go.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
Yes, indeed. FLXATX.com. That's where you check it out on your social media at FlexATX as well. So last night we rearranged some things so women's basketball could be here on the Horn. And because of that, we were unable to get the Flex Show to you last night, but we're going to bring it to you tonight. So it's going to be Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry at 7. Then 8 o'clock is going to be the Flex Show with our man, Zach Lucero. Let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. We will talk to Zach, get a little preview of the show. Zach, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, Chad. My little Mo Bamba story, I used to date a girl, and then a couple months after we stopped talking, she sent me a screenshot of Mo Bamba in her DMs trying to fly her out to Orlando to spend some time with him.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so I'm definitely never getting back together with her. I don't myself.
You mean you couldn't compete with that? You couldn't get in the DMs and offer plane flights and anything? You couldn't do that?
I was like, I used to listen to a song with this girl called Mo Bamba. There's no way I'm getting back together with this girl.
Oh, my God.
Hey, that means you just big time too, Zach. She only deals with big time players, and you one of them.
It means I'm the setup guy is what that means.
The setup. You're the opening act. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Zach Lucero, by the way, at FlexATX, we always mention that on the socials. Also, if you want to follow Zach, it's at Zach Ain't Whack with 2 Ks at the end. I had to learn that one today, Zach. I'm an old man. You know how it is when I'm trying to follow Twitter and stuff. So we'll try to get you some Twitter followers there as well. Give us a thought for tonight's show. What are you guys looking for on the Flex Show tonight at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, if you were one of the probably 15 people in their car listening to the episode that I had with Cameron Parker last week, we kind of previewed it because we weren't able to have these guys on last week because the phones were down. That was during the Snowpocalypse Part 2. But the 3 guests that we have scheduled, we're going to start out with Coach Sanders from Vandegrift, who's on my Mount Rushmore of head coaches of all time. It's Coach Sanders, Matthew McConaughey, and We Are Marshall, and the 2 guys that coach Odessa Permian.
Nice.
So those 2 guys, we'll have Coach Sanders on the show to start out around 8:15ish. Then at 8:30, we'll have Zay's guy, Hudson Greer, the hooper out of Lake Travis, a guy that a lot of people are really high on as a prospect. Already has a Texas offer, a big time talent in the area. And then finally, to close out the show, I mean, we just had National Signing Day, so to look ahead, and a guy that was on our all flex team this past season, to look ahead to a guy that's going to be signing a letter of intent here for after next season. Peyton Morgan, the safety out of Weiss, who I know Rod Babers is a big fan of. Like I mentioned, he was one of the 4 guys that we had as a DB on our all flex team this last season. So a pretty fun group of guests, and then it'll be me and Nolan Hogan. The genes on that guy, it's got to be a good show.
It's got to work.
Absolutely. I feel you, Zach. Let's talk about Hudson Greer a little bit because you're right. That is my boy. I just love his game. His athleticism is through the roof, and he plays way above his age. He's only a sophomore, and like you said, he already has that Texas offer, and a lot of other big-time Power 6 D1s are going to keep offering the guy. What do you see in him just going to the next level and being that type of big-time player that make it out of Central Texas like a lot of guys have?
I think it's guys like Hudson Greer that don't necessarily fit. I mean, when you looked at Greg Brown, like you could tell that he was a generational talent, that he was a guy that was going to make it to the league. And Hudson Greer is a type of guy that doesn't look like that but plays like that. A guy that's going to go to a big time school and perform. It's going to get recruited, and it's going to continue to put Central Texas on the map for recruiting. And I mean, Chad, from all the stuff we've been doing with Flex, and it's like an ongoing thing, especially in football, to try to put the 5-1-2 like on the map in terms of Dallas, Houston, in terms of football recruiting. And as close as it is for football, it's even further in basketball. And it's guys like Hudson Greer, the athleticism, the type of play, the level that he plays in AAU and the select scene in basketball. It's guys like that are really going to make an impact for the Austin area going forward.
By the way, if people want to check that game out, I'm at FLXATX.com right now looking at the lineup for tomorrow night. Lake Travis, Buda Johnson. We referenced that one yesterday in the Flex segment.
Huge game.
Big game there at Lake Travis. So over there, 7:30 on that tip time. If you want to check it out, Lake Travis and Buda Johnson, a big part of it. So again, tonight at 8 is the Flex Show. Zach, before we let you go, anything else in the basketball world that you want to give, make sure the people are aware of? Any team that you've seen that you really like? Because I know you're out there checking out different teams and players.
Yeah, I went and saw Vandergrift and Cedar Ridge last Tuesday night. Yeah, and Vandergrift is a team that, I mean, just how they play football is how they play basketball. They're not the best looking team coming off the bus, but they're super talented. They play really hard. They have a lot of guys that are going to score from the outside the paint, and then just have a couple long guys and a bunch of multi-sport guys. So Vandergrift was a fun team to watch. And then if you're not following Flex ATX, Zay didn't tell me to do this, but definitely give him a follow and listen to you guys' show. Because I mean, if there's someone other than me and Derek and Nolan that's really putting on for the high school basketball scene right now, it's Zay. So if you follow the Neck Pillow himself, and you'll learn a lot about the Central Texas Hoopers.
Zay, did you tell him to say that?
I did not.
Come on now.
Thank you for bigging me up, Zach. I need that credit, man. I need that love. Appreciate that,
there you go.
bro. Let me ask you this.
I had to plant the seed for when I asked you to come on the show.
I feel you. I'll definitely be happy to come on.
Good plan.
Let me ask you this. Leonard Moore out of Round Rock committed to Notre Dame, and that's huge. Marcus Freeman, man, he loves coming down here. We know about Jaden Greathouse and, getting other guys. What do you think about Leonard making that commitment?
I mean, Leonard was, again, you asked Rod Babers. He's the DB, the certified DB that we're lucky enough to have at our reach. But I mean, Leonard Moore has been the guy. I mean, Jalen Gilbert was the guy that kind of came on late, and it's really awesome that he was able to go ultimately to Vanderbilt. But Leonard Moore is the guy that, I mean, almost like overshadowed Jalen Gilbert as an underclassman, and Leonard Moore was always going to be the big time defensive back recruit that we were going to have in the area. And you mentioned Jaden Greathouse. I think the name that really made things happen for Notre Dame was Braylon James. I mean, as soon as he committed to Notre Dame, it just changed everything. I talked to him, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to go get Jaden Greathouse." And sure enough, Jaden Greathouse committed. And as soon as Jaden Greathouse committed, he said, "We are going to get Austin Novosad," meaning him and Braylon James were going after Austin Novosad. And then Austin Novosad was a hard Baylor commit, but as soon as you see that, it's like Austin Novosad comes out with the Final Four. That was Baylor and Notre Dame and A&M. So, I mean, what Braylon James has done to kind of open up that pipeline to Notre Dame has been huge. And to be able to go on a visit across the country, but room with a guy that you talk to every day, I think is a game changer for Coach Freeman. And if he's interested in opening this area up as a pipeline, it's players like Braylon James and Jaden Greathouse, guys that I'm going to have on the show here in the future, that have really been paying dividends. So I'm not 100% sure that he'll stay there, just because you hardly ever see that nowadays, where kids commit before their senior year and end up staying there. I mean, you know how recruiting is nowadays, but just for him to feel that confident that he can commit to a school like Notre Dame. I know his dad's a professor at UT. So I know that the recruiting process is far from being over for him, and it's going to be really exciting to watch.
Zach Lucero, the Flex Show, moving to 8 o'clock tonight. Normally, of course, you hear the Flex as the Wednesday night Flex Show at 7 o'clock, as long as we got no Longhorn basketball games to move things around. Normally, it's Wednesdays at 7, but we had to move some things around this week. So tonight at 8 o'clock, the Flex Show, and Zach just told you, Drew Sanders, Hudson Greer, and Peyton Morgan all scheduled to appear tonight. Zach, we appreciate it, man. Y'all have a great show tonight.
Yes, sir. Y'all too.
Thanks, Zach.
Good stuff. Flex segment here at 1:30 each and every day. Man, Leonard Moore. I didn't realize he had made that official, and he's still got one more year at Round Rock. Correct?
Yeah, 2024.
So if people are interested in, if you're like Rod Babers or others out there that you really fancy the defensive backs, you love watching a badass corner. He is absolutely that, and that Round Rock defense will punch you in the face.
Yeah, he's 6'2", 175, and the fact that his dad is a professor at UT. If you're Steve Sarkisian, I know Sark, wants his cream of the crop, but Leonard could ball. And that's exactly the body type and measurements that Sark wants at the cornerback position. Those big, long, lanky guys that could get up there, those Sauce Gardner types, who was first team All-Pro this year for the Jets. He wants those types of guys, and Leonard is that dude. So yeah. I'm Sark. I'm going into that class, interrupting the class. He might have an 8 a.m. I'm going and interrupting him like, hey, how Leonard doing today? Just keep up. Just make sure, hey, let them know. Just let them know we still thinking about them.
Oh, there's some fans that don't like it when guys like that get out of the state. And in this case, if a guy like that gets all the way to Notre Dame, that will upset some folks in this area. He is a badass, and certainly all the best to Leonard Moore making the decision that is right for him right now. He is a commit to Notre Dame, but as Zach just said, we know that means it's a long way from being over sometimes. So flex segment every day at 1:30. Coming up at 2:05, we'll talk to Jeff Howe of horns247.com. We'll kind of get some recruiting stuff in there as well. I want his thoughts on Savion Red to the running back position. Warren Roberson picks Texas this week, flips and takes off the TCU jacket and the whole thing. We'll get Jeff's thoughts on that, maybe a little basketball, and we'll get his Super Bowl pick as well. Up next, where are we at in society? Zay will let us know. Don't move. It's the Horn. All right, this is Chad talking Underdog Fantasy. I told you it was coming. It's here, and now you can take advantage of it. Underdog Fantasy, it's such an easy way to get into the action for the big game. You're picking higher or lower on your favorite Chiefs or Eagles stats for the big game. If you get all your picks right, you could win up to 20 times your money in a single night. And remember, you can now make the special pick on Jalen Hurts. It started earlier this morning, higher or lower than 0.5 total yards. You heard me right. That's 0.5 yards. He literally needs 1 yard in the game in order to go higher. So you'll go higher there, then pair that with at least one other correct pick. Max $20 entry. You could be taking home some cold, hard cash. I put my pick'em game together with that pick included today. I'll get that out there on Twitter tomorrow and tell you about it, but go check it out for yourself. Sign up today with the promo code HORN. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get in on that pick'em game. Make sure to make that special pick with Jalen Hurts at Underdog Fantasy. Oh, man. I am so glad you've played this now because somehow through the last year or so, I've learned that I had no idea who sang this song, but I know now. This is the song for me from Big when Tom Hanks is in the limo with Elizabeth Perkins. Elizabeth Perkins, is that her name? This is Billy Idol, isn't it?
Yes.
I never knew that until I can't remember what it was that made me. Maybe it was Billy's birthday or something. I was looking up stuff. Or maybe you did play it for me and tell me earlier. But, yeah, I wouldn't have. This just doesn't sound like Billy Idol to me.
Really?
It's just a little poppy for him. He always had a little rougher edge to him for me. Since he'd come out of the punk world, this was definitely a poppy song for him. Billy Idol, Spinal Tap, Sly and the Family Stone, and Love Unlimited Orchestra have all been a part of the show. It's a great movie, Big, by the way. You want to know how good Tom Hanks is? He's good enough to make that movie wholesome. That's hard to do. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, Big's a cute one.
12-year-old,
It's a cute joint.
12-year-old boy finds his way into a grown man's body and then ends up in a relationship with a full-grown woman. And somehow it all plays off as wholesome. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
He is
Tom
amazing.
Hanks, one of the GOATs.
He's amazing. Amazing that he pulls that off. All right, so we got a lot of football that we've been talking about today. I'm picking the Eagles. A lot of other people are picking the Eagles. Brandon Lang says lean Eagles. He's not getting fooled again by picking that big-time quarterback over the big-time defense. He's going with the big-time defense because the last 2 times they've matched up by the stats, it's the defense that's won, so he's going with the Philly defense. A lot of others are. We'll see if Mahomes can use that as fuel. There are a lot of people that, somebody's texted us today about the Eagles' schedule. Go find a game that impresses you. I'm not finding one. Somebody else says everybody's putting emphasis on Mahomes' injury. Not talking about Hurts' injury. When the Chiefs win,
I always talk about it.
Everybody's going to bring the Hurts injury up as an excuse. We have discussed that injury a little bit. By the way, both quarterbacks are reporting that their injuries are feeling good. Like both of them would tell you, I might not be 100%, but I am good enough to go. Good enough to go, good enough to lead this team.
All right.
So
we'll see when you lower that shoulder, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. A couple of quick injury hits, and then we'll get to where we at. Kansas City side, Kadarius Toney, limited in practice with an ankle and a hamstring injury is what they're calling it, but he says he's definitely playing. Juju Smith-Schuster, full practice with that knee. That's big because, remember, Hardeman has now been sent to the IR, and he won't play. Philadelphia, Lane Johnson, groin injury, and they're just kind of resting him. He didn't practice yesterday or hasn't practiced yet this week. And he says, though, no doubt that he will play in the game. And Robert Quinn with a foot injury says he should be good for the Eagles. All right, Zay, let's get into it. Where are we at in society? Let's see what Zay's got.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay, do I need to hit Twitter? What's going on?
Nah, Chad, you could search this online to help you get a better look at what we're talking about today. Billboard has released in the last month like 10 from 50 to 40, from 40 to 30, etc. Top 50 hip-hop artists of all time.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, so
Okay.
they finally got the top 10 down.
Okay.
I'm going to name the top 10 from 10 to 1.
Okay.
See if you have any problem with it, because we know you're getting better with your hip-hop,
I'm trying.
with your hip-hop juice and whatnot. You're getting a lot better. You just heard the Wu-Tang album, listened to Biggie's album recently. So
I'm trying to expand.
Right.
Expand
So
the mind.
These top 10 throughout the year, we'll try to find albums, like their best albums, if we haven't heard them already.
Okay.
And we'll go back and jam. Because there's some that I need to go back and jam. It's been a while for myself.
All right.
All
So top 10. We're starting with number 10.
Number 10.
Hip hop of all time. Here we go.
Nicki Minaj.
Wow.
That's what I said.
Top 10?
Top 10, which she's the only female artist in the top 10. So they're saying she's the best female artist of all time.
Wow.
Now, if you go up, I think Missy Elliott is like 17th on this list.
I'm assuming you'd put Missy Elliott above Cardi B.
Missy Elliott's 19.
You put Missy Elliott above Cardi B, right?
Yes. Cardi
Yeah.
B's only dropped like one album.
Cardi B. That feels high. That feels.
We're talking about Nicki Minaj, though.
I mean, Nicki Minaj. I'm sorry, I said Cardi B. My bad. Nicki Minaj. Okay. Yeah, Nicki Minaj doesn't feel top 10 to me, but again, I'm not an expert in this genre. She does not feel that level to me. But
now,
And is this a full media vote, by the way? Remind me who this is picking
Billboard.
again? This is Billboard.
Billboard, and I think they're collaborating with some magazine.
Billboard
maybe Vibe magazine.
Okay.
Hip Hop magazine. Kanye's 11th, if that's giving you any more perspective on the situation. Andre 3000 is 12.
Wow, she's above those two guys?
She's above those two guys.
I-
Rakim's 13th.
Okay.
LL Cool J's 14th. Yeah, we can keep going.
Okay. I
All
got
right,
you.
let's
All
go.
right, so number 10. Okay, so 10, Nicki Minaj. Got you.
9, Snoop Dogg.
Wow. All right.
Which that makes sense.
Snoop Dogg's got to be top. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would think he's got to be top 10.
Kind of like LeBron breaking the record, you have to have longevity. That's a big part of making this list and being on the top 10. So I'll give Nicki, for the last decade and some change, she's done her thing. I'll give her that. Missy Elliott, from probably 97 to 05, her run was crazy. So, all right, 9,
All right.
Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
8, Drake.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. See, this is one of those guys I don't know enough about. I've never heard two Drake songs back to back, much less an album, much less a collection. Is he that good?
I don't think so.
Back into the top 10?
If we're talking about just music in general, I don't know if we're like hip hop and R&B, then yes. But this is just supposed to be hip hop. And you know Drake, he be singing and he be talking about women. He a light skinned brother. He be in his feelings and stuff. And that's not hip hop. Now, when he goes hip hop, he's very good. Is he number 8 good?
Now, let me be clear with what you're saying here. When you say hip hop, is that a
rapping, just straight rapping?
It's a synonym for rap for you.
Yes, just
Okay.
rapping.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's what I
lyrics.
thought. To
Right.
Make sure. Okay.
So Drake, that's tough for me, but whatever. It's their list.
Okay.
7,
Yeah.
Lil Wayne.
Okay.
I get that one.
You got that one?
Yeah, for someone who
Makes
grew
sense.
up in the 2000s as a teenager, I for sure get that one.
He's Mount Rushmore of tatted up rappers, isn't
Oh,
he?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, just checking.
All right, now this might be where it gets very controversial.
Yes.
Number 6, Biggie Smalls.
Wow. Biggie at 6?
Biggie at 6.
I would think Biggie's got to be in your Mount Rushmore area here, doesn't he?
I mean, yeah, and that's what this is, but
He's got to be top 5, doesn't he?
he only had 2 albums. That's not, again, the longevity thing. We know he died at 24. Ready to Die, Life After Death. That's it.
But aren't we? You're saying this is the top 10 hip hop artists of all time, correct?
Right.
Okay. So doesn't that mean, on some level, it's pound for pound, moment for moment, song for song? If I need one person to get up there on a stage and go, I'm going with him in a certain order. It's not necessarily about how many albums you've put out, is it?
It is. Because you have to be consistent. If you keep putting out number 1 albums, classic albums, which will get to guys who are ahead of Biggie who have that,
Okay.
I could see that being a point. But I get what you're saying. That's true.
Because if you're having a discussion about like the greatest guitar players of all time, and you want to tell me that Jimi Hendrix doesn't need to be as high on the list because he wasn't around as long, because his impact didn't last as long, that's where I'd start arguing. I'd be like, right, but he's a complete alien, and he's the best at what he did. If Biggie's the badass, he should be higher than 6 to me.
All right.
If you're going to tell me if somebody would tell me I've heard people say he's the greatest rapper for them ever.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too.
If that might be true, then I'd put him higher than 6. But we'll see what the top 5 is. Here we go.
Number 5, Eminem.
Oh, okay.
I'd put him above Big.
I would certainly go higher than that. I'm much more familiar with Eminem stuff than I am with Biggie Smalls. I like both of them. You wouldn't put him above him, or you would?
I would.
You'd put him above Biggie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I need more albums than 2. I love Biggie. Those 2 albums are absolute classics. I know he did the Junior Mafia thing, but I need more than 2.
I got you.
Number 4.
Yes.
Tupac Shakur.
Ooh, Tupac at number 4. Is that too low for you?
Oh,
You need Tupac notched up a little bit?
I don't know, because these next 3 guys I love.
By the way, I love the fact that the Billboard magazine or whoever did this, they decided to split Tupac and Biggie up and put Eminem in the middle.
Right?
I love that. It's like,
Yeah.
well, let's not put them right next to each other. Let's put somebody in there. Who's our buffer? I don't know. Marshall? Yes. Let's do that. All right. Top 3. I'm assuming Young MC is next. Is that right?
Nah, Young MC. I don't know if he made the list.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, Nas.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I like that too.
I like it because I've heard a collection of his. I've heard people talk about him, and he has such respect in that world. I'm impressed, actually, that he would end up ahead of Tupac, Biggie, and Eminem.
Well, the man's still winning Grammys.
That's fair.
Like,
That's fair.
The last 3 albums that he's had with YoungBoy, the producer, or Hit Boy, the producer, you could consider them classics. So that separates him from a lot of guys. He's still going, and he still sounds good, and he's been able to adapt, even though he had his first album came out in '94.
All right, so we're down to 2 and 1.
Yep.
Is one of them Jay-Z?
Yeah. One's Jay-Z, two's Kendrick Lamar.
So Kendrick's at 2.
Kendrick's at 2.
Wow, they went Jay-Z number 1 all time.
One. Yeah.
Give me your overall there. Is that a?
I like Jay-Z at 1.
Yeah,
I like Jay-Z at 1. I'd move Nas in front of Kendrick. I'd move Tupac in front of Kendrick. I'd move Eminem in front of Kendrick, and I'd move Biggie in front of Kendrick. Kendrick would be number 6 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need Kendrick to do more work.
I don't think you get a ton of argument for that rearrange there.
I need Kendrick to do a little bit more work. He has some classic albums. This last one, I don't think he deserved the Grammy for. It was good, but I don't think he deserved the Grammy for that. Good Kid, Mad City, love that. Damn was good. Section 8's good. But yeah, those other 5, man, and Kendrick, he's great, and he has time. But number 2, as of right now, it's tough.
All right, so this big list of hip-hop artists of all time goes with Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, and Nas as the top 3. You can let us know what you think of that. 337-3776 on the Specs text line.
People are asking about J. Cole. He's number 15.
J. Cole 15.
J. Cole
okay.
15.
I just need the fans of these 2 artists to explain it to me and justify it. I need Drake and Nicki Minaj justified for back end of the top 10. Are they talented? Absolutely. I've heard stuff that makes me think, damn, they're talented. I don't know that I've heard anything that makes me think they're top 10.
Yeah, you could always question the people in front of them or the people that they're in front of. Like Andre 3000, could he have been as good without Big Boy? We will never know that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do Outkast and NWA and, Public Enemy, do they not get counted here because we're just doing individuals?
Chuck D made the list. I don't know where he was, but he's top 50.
Yes,
so that Flav wouldn't get any credit. Big Boy, I think, is top 50. But yes, they do separate them. But you will get penalized for that just because you had a sidekick.
That's
weird. Like Ghostface Killah, 22.
Okay.
And I love Ghostface Killah. He's the highest one out of the Wu-Tang Clan on this list.
So Wu-Tang's not on the list.
They're
all those
not.
individuals may be, but yeah.
Method Man's 25, Ghostface 22.
Okay. Ghostface, the highest
Wu-Tang member on this list.
rated. Okay. All right. There you go. Interesting list. That'd be an interesting way to get into a lot of hip hop that maybe you're familiar with, haven't been to in a while, or that you're not familiar with, going through a list like that. Check it out. The Billboard list of best hip hop artists of all time. We'll see what Jeff Howe thinks of that. He's a big hip hop guy.
Yeah, he is.
Jeff Howe coming up, horns247.com. We'll get his thoughts on that and some Longhorn stuff and maybe even a Super Bowl pick. Don't move. It's the Horn. All right, let's talk a little Apple leasing. My daughter asked me today if we could give one of her friends a ride home, and I said, yeah, sure we can. And then I realized, I'd put my seats down. I still had the cot and the mattress in my car from when we had to stay up here at the station. That's how lazy I can be sometimes. But I got it all rearranged and everything. That's what I love about my car from Apple Leasing. I was able to get a little bit bigger car than I had the last time, a little more versatility, going with the smaller SUV instead of the car that I had, so I can do those type of things and giving the kids, friends rides around, but also being able to haul stuff. Whatever you're looking for, Apple Leasing can make it happen. Any make, any model, any car, any truck, SUV, whatever it is. Maybe you want to go smaller SUV to bigger SUV. It's the easiest and safest way to get a new car. It just takes a couple phone calls. You call them up at 346-9977. They'll start to get a sense of what you're looking for. They'll go out and search around for all those different options. They bring the options back to you. You'll sign all the documents electronically, and then they'll deliver right to your driveway if you need them to do that, and they can drive that trade-in away for you as well. Ask them about what's going on here at the beginning of 2023, the beginning of year stuff that could help you out. Maybe there's some rebates still left from the end of 2022. They'll figure it all out for you and make it real simple. 346-9977 or go to appleleasing.com. All right, hour number 3 on a Thursday. It's been a nice, busy Thursday for us with some really cool stuff. We always love talking to Brandon Lang. We normally do it on Fridays. We move that to Thursday. So if you missed it, check out the top of hour number 2 today. Brandon Lang live from Radio Row talking about the ladies he was seeing and talking about the scene that'll be in Vegas next year and giving you his thoughts on Super Bowl 57. Also, Earl Campbell and Tony Dorsett at the same time at 12:15. Zay and I were very nervous for that one, but the guys were awesome. You can go check that one out. We'll get that posted for you later at hornfm.com. Plus Durant to Phoenix, Russell Westbrook's out of L.A., and we got the Specs text line fired up because Zay just went through the top 10 of the Billboard magazine top hip-hop artists of all time, and some folks have some feelings about the list. And we may even get into a little bit of that with our next guest on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. I didn't check on the beat, though. Zay, what was that beat we had?
Jay-Z, Friend or Foe, Reasonable Doubt album, 1996.
All right, giving Jay-Z some love because Jay-Z ended up number 1 on that list. We will talk about that right now with Jeff Howe of horns247.com. Normally, we talk to Jeff at 1 o'clock on Thursdays, but since Brandon Lang was in Vegas, in Arizona, talking about strippers, we moved Jeff Howe to 2 o'clock, and we appreciate him doing that. Horns247.com, check it all out. Longhorn Blitz podcast. If you missed it last night, 9 o'clock tonight, Longhorn Blitz podcast after the Flex show. Jeff, how are you?
I just want to know, now that the trade deadline has passed, has Zay put his pants back on? Like, is he doing the show with pants on right now?
Yes. The pants are on, although he almost took them off again when he was talking about this hip-hop list. So we've really had to control things today.
All right. Well, I'll do this segment as long as Zay promises me he's got pants on.
The pants are on, Jeff.
Fair enough.
They're on. They've been on all day. We're good. We're good, dog.
All right. So, Jeff.
Good to know.
Jeff, I'm going to do it this way. Since you are such a big hip-hop fan, is there something in the Longhorn world that you feel like we need to discuss and you need to talk about right now? Or should I just get your thoughts on this top 5 of the all-time hip-hop artists?
All right, Savion Red can wait. I haven't heard this top 5, so where are we at right here?
All right, we'll go top 5 with you. According to this Billboard magazine, maybe was it Billboard and Vibe got together?
I think so.
Okay. 5 is Eminem, 4 is Tupac, 3 is Nas, 2 is Kendrick Lamar, and 1 is Jay-Z. Any thoughts?
Nas and Kendrick Lamar way too high.
See?
We're talking about all-time greats.
Interesting. You think they're both way too high. Zay agreed with you on Kendrick Lamar, but you don't think Nas needs to be that high.
I would not have Nas in my top 5.
Okay.
Who would your top 5
back
be?
into the top 10 probably is where I would put Nas.
Okay, so the rest of their top 10 was Biggie, from 6 to 10. Biggie, Lil Wayne, Drake, Snoop, and Nicki Minaj finished out their top 10.
All right. The fact that you're going to – is this like MCs or just rappers or what is it?
Yes, this is supposed to be just MCs, Jeff.
Okay, if you're going to put together a list of top 10 MCs and Ice Cube is nowhere in that top 10, then I'm going to automatically disqualify you.
Okay.
Yeah, they got Cube at 18, Jeff.
See, we didn't talk about him earlier. I agree.
18.
I agree with Jeff. He needs to be higher, right?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Ice Cube's not a 9-4 ACC team. That's where those people go in a top 25.
Oh, my God. I knew you'd have a thought. That's why I asked. Jeff Howe, horns247.com. All right, Jeff, let's talk about the conversion here. It's really interesting to me on any team when any college football team, if a guy's going from the receiver room to the running back room or vice versa, that's interesting to me. At Texas, it's fascinating because of what those two rooms can and sometimes can't be. What do you think of Savion Red going to running back?
Well, you look on the surface, and Jonathan Brooks is still dealing with the hernia surgery coming off of that. And Jaden Blues had a little bit of I think it's a shoulder, just a little. Doesn't sound like it's anything serious. It's maybe dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue. So, from a standpoint of getting group work together, you just probably needed another body there, and you got all the bodies you want at receiver right now, especially with DeAndre Moore and Jonte Cook on campus with A.B. Mitchell.
So on the surface, yeah, whatever. And Savion Red's one of those guys that came in as an athlete, right? Played some quarterback in high school. And those guys always intrigue me because, for every, a Drew Kelson or a DeMarco Cobbs, a guy that just never quite finds the right fit for one reason or another, you end up getting a Curtis Brown or a Quandre Diggs that fit into a position perfectly when these guys have come in as kind of multi-positional guys. So from that, on the surface, it makes sense. But I think looking at it deeper, to me, and we talked about this on the Longhorn Blitz podcast. I know Rod has talked about it, and maybe we'll talk about it today on Ball Don't Lie. But, when you look at the identity of this offense, last year the offensive identity was, hey, when all else fails, you just turn around and hand the ball to Roschon and Bijan, and that's how you're going to get out of the jam. And to me, that's kind of what your offensive identity is. It's when all else fails, what can we do that no matter what front we see, what coverage they run, what blitzes they throw at us, we feel like we can hang our hat on what. And I feel like for Steve Sarkisian, that needs to be a little more positionless football. Look, he said the offenses he studies, it's guys on that Kyle Shanahan tree, right? It's Shanahan, it's Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, like the guys on that tree. And one thing that those guys, Shanahan does it better than anybody in the league right now, and then we've seen the rest of these guys do it. It's positionless football. And look at the guys that they have in those systems, whether it's a guy like a Robert Woods or Shanahan's got a bunch of them with Juszczyk and Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey, guys that no matter what position group you're in, you can move around different formations. And in the process of creating one-on-one matchups, you create so many just based on your personnel groupings that it's impossible for the defense to key in on one of those guys. I love the way Rod puts it. It's a mathematical equation that the defense ultimately has no answer for. You can't account for everybody. So from that standpoint, I love getting Savion Red at running back, even if it's not a permanent move, Chad. Like even if he's just there for the spring, so you've got him now. He'll have worked at running back and wide receiver. We know Jordan Whittington is one of those multi-positional guys that can move around and do different things. So Jatavian Sanders is that same kind of guy. You can move him all over the field. With A.D. Mitchell and Isaiah Nayer, Xavier Worthy can kind of slide back into one of those roles. If you've got Savion Red in the backfield, Cedric Baxter can be one of those guys. And the fact that he's on campus right now, can he get up to speed? So I think the offense for Texas in 2023, to me, I think the focus should be less about trying to overwhelm you with talent like you did last year, where the best way I could put the impact Roschon and Bijan had on the offense was they can make you right even when your play call and or blocking up front, even when those suggest that you're wrong, they can make you right. They just overwhelm you with their talent and their ability to run the football. Now I think the identity needs to be, hey, can we just overwhelm you with so much versatility that you just can't account for everybody on every single snap?
Jeff, let's talk about Warren Roberson a little bit, the Red Oak safety who flipped from TCU to Texas. And, man, what a great video, just snapping the TCU Letterman jacket off. Man, I know that hurt Sonny Dykes, just the pride that he has. But, talk about the flip and the type of player that, Blake Gideon, Pete Kwiatkowski are getting on the defensive side.
That's a great heel turn, Chad. I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
That's a great heel turn.
Solid heel turn. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No, I like it, Zay. This is another thing. I mean, I would encourage everybody, if you haven't listened to the Blitz this week, tune in tonight because we talk about this. It used to be, probably I'd say even about 10 years ago, if you were being recruited as a safety out of high school, to some guys that was an insult, right? Like, and there was a time where the safety position, it was like you put, guys that were maybe a little too small to play linebacker but could be big hitters, or guys that just got, slowed down a little bit and their skills at corner had diminished, so you just slide them inside the safety. And that's not the case now. As much space and pace as everybody plays, the skill sets in the secondary, with the exception of that nickel position, safeties and corners, it's almost become universal in terms of what you need to do. And at the end of the day, the core of it is, you just need to be able to cover and you need to be able to tackle in space. And I don't care what else you bring to the table. If you can't do those two things, you're going to have a really hard time playing defensive back in football. And I say all that to say that's the kind of guy Texas got in Warren Roberson. I think you look at all these guys, even the guys that kind of are earmarked as safety-type guys over the last 2 classes. And we're talking about Roberson, you're talking about Derek Williams, you're talking about go back to the 22 class with B.J. Allen and Larry Turner Gooden. I mean, these are guys that they're not what you think about traditional safety. They are defensive backs who, just because of their stature, probably fit better at the safety position. But that, to me, is what I really like about what this defense is doing, guys. And then we know, going back to last offseason, that front coverage discussion we had, right? Like, well, how do you fix this defense? Do you worry about the front and getting more pressure, or do you try to solidify things on the back end? And for PK and for Sark, it was about, hey, fix things in the secondary. They brought in Ryan Watts. They moved Anthony Cook to safety. They moved Keaton Crawford to safety. They started shifting some things around. They got Jade Barron in the nickel position at that star position. So the fact that they continue to use assets wisely to add bodies to the secondary, that they put a premium on playmaking, and they know the kind of guys they want back there. If you look at, Sark's first spring compared to where it is now, and not just with the guys on campus, but the guys that will be here in June, that secondary as a whole has done a 180 in the best possible way in terms of how they turn that thing over.
Love that. I love that, Jeff. Let's go to the hardwood, man. Right now, the Horns sitting pretty, 8-3, first place, with Iowa State losing last night to West Virginia. That's huge. Now you got Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor, and Iowa State sitting at 7-4. Those last 4 games, we were really looking at them from Tennessee to Baylor to Kansas State to Kansas. And you look at the pattern on those 2 losses, the point guard ate Texas alive. DeJuan Harris ate them alive with Kansas, and Zakai Ziegler gave them 22 and 10, which goes back to the Tyrese Hunter thing. We just need more out of Tyrese. And now these next 3 games, they're must wins if you're trying to get a number 1 seed. How are you looking at this basketball team, and how you think they're going to go, and these next 7 or 8 games until the tournament? How you think they're going to look?
Yeah, I know, Zay, we talked a lot about Tyrese just in terms of his offense, right, and how the production has been different. It slipped, and I know he had the 27-point game against K-State, but the production's been different since Chris Beard was no longer part of this program, since Rodney Terry took over. But at the very least, you figure he's a really good on-ball defender, and you could maybe at least count on that from him. To your point, when they've gotten in trouble, one of the common things that you notice, man, they're allowing a lot of dribble penetration, and it's way too easy. Really noticed that early on in the Kansas game, especially with DeJuan Harris. I mean, it is way too easy for the KU guards to get downhill. It was way too easy for them to do that early in the first half. So I think above all else, it is probably going to be one of those weeks where Rodney Terry challenged some guys, as he has after these losses. Hey, you just got to step up and be willing to guard people. And that's one of the reasons why this team hasn't lost back-to-backs this year. I mean, because they've come back in the next game and guarded much better than they did in the game before. You look at them, the Baylor game coming off of the Tennessee loss, they did. And I would expect them to do the same thing on Saturday against West Virginia, coming off of the loss Monday to Kansas. So I just think stopping dribble penetration is going to be huge for this team. It's weird, like, they probably did the best job they've done all year of defending the 3-point line. And at the end of the night, it didn't really matter. KU, I think, shot 2 for 10, 2 for 11 from 3, and it really didn't matter because you allowed so much dribble penetration. In transition defense, they might be a bigger disappointment for me than just allowing the dribble penetration was, because that's nothing but, hey, can you just run back and get yourself in position to not give up runouts? I mean, we're not talking about schemes or X's and O's. That's just effort to get back down the floor, and they really struggle to do that. So I just think giving up easy, not allowing so many easy buckets when they've gotten themselves in trouble this year, that's really been one of the things that you notice. So, but we saw West Virginia earlier this year, and it's a different kind of West Virginia team. But so I'm not too worried about Texas bouncing back and being ready to play Saturday. I think when you look at the big picture, though, when you look at the conference race, man, Iowa State, we've seen them. They're as good and capable of beating anybody in this league. But it's hard to say anybody in this league has a bad loss when you lose the conference opponent, that it's a bad loss. But, a game in Lubbock where you're up by 23, that's a game you should put away. If you're going to win a conference championship, you got to be able to find a way to win in Morgantown. So I think for Texas, not just you're getting a West Virginia team that you think they might have just unloaded it all. They might have emptied the cup and probably had to empty the cup to beat Iowa State coming to town now. but also looking at it from a splits and sweep standpoint, man, whenever you can get splits and when you have to, and whenever you can get sweeps when you have to, you've got to do that. Back to your point today about being the number one seed, if you want to be in that position and win this conference, you got to get sweeps when they present themselves, and they got a really good chance to go get one on Saturday.
Jeff Howe, again, if you are a Longhorn football freak, check out the Longhorn Blitz podcast tonight at 9 or get it wherever you get your podcast. Jeff, before we let you go, you're a Cowboys fan like me. So for me, it's root like hell for the Chiefs, but I'm picking the Eagles to win the game. How about you?
I'm rooting like hell for the Chiefs, and I'm picking the Chiefs. I cannot, with any fiber of my being, have any kind of rooting interest in the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going Chiefs all the way. I may paint my body half red and half gold on Sunday too. I may go that far. Maybe going breaking out the body paint.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Check out horns247.com for all the great content there. Of course, Jeff's a part of Light the Tower every day 10 to noon at Jeff Howe 247 on Twitter. He may be headed there now to gripe about what he just heard about this hip-hop list. Jeff, we always appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll think about how Billboard and apparently Vibe view Ice Cube as like the Wake Forest football of rappers. So I'll marinate on that for a little bit.
It's cold-blooded. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, I love these discussions in music. We'll continue that. That's why Today Matters. The new version of Why Today Matters is we're going to dig back into this hip-hop list because we have people texting us about certain artists. Like this one we haven't talked about. Where does Ice-T end up on the list?
He's 45.
Oh, my God. 45?
He's 45.
Man.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. We'll go back to that. If you missed it, somebody else texted us, Nicki Minaj loses you all credibility. We'll tell you where Nicki Minaj ended up on the list and tell you more reasons why Today Matters. It is the Thursday before the Super Bowl, and this is The Horn. All right, this is Chad with a Twin Peaks idea for you. How about a Twin Peaks pub crawl over the weekend? I always tell you about the 3 locations, right? Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock. Let's do this. Pick one of them for Friday and go bourbon and brews. Every Friday, 5 to 7, experience the lingerie costume party paired with the exceptional bourbons, tastings, and giveaways. Then Saturday, hit another location for UFC 284. It's a battle of champions. Alexander Volkanovski is going to try to be the next champ in the UFC. Get on out there and see if he can do it. Then on Sunday, pick another location and go hit the Super Bowl, where the first 100 guests qualify for the Squares board. Plus, claim your free queso bounce back when you watch the game at Twin Peaks. Now, if you don't want to move around a lot, you just pick the same location and do that all 3 nights. Lots of stuff going on for you this weekend at Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views, Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. Rolling through a Thursday. We're about to get back into this hip-hop discussion. Ice-T?
There you go.
That's younger Ice-T, right?
I mean, yeah.
Is this prime Ice-T for
Yeah, it's
you?
prime Ice-T.
Okay.
Yeah, about probably 86 through 93.
I am proud of myself because I just went through a list in my head. But eventually I was like, no, listen, pay attention. Stop. Listen to his voice. I think you know it. Yeah. Ice-T. What's the song called?
This is the New Jack City. New Jack Hustler.
Okay.
Yeah,
New Jack Hustler. Gotcha. All right, so Ice-T, Billy Idol, Spinal Tap, Sly and the Family Stone, and Love Unlimited Orchestra have all been on the show today. And we're going to get back into this hip-hop discussion because Zay opened the Pandora's box. We might as well stay in there. Before we do, trade deadline day in the NBA. Durant to Phoenix. Russell's out of L.A. The Mavs looked pretty good last night with Kyrie Irving. If you missed that, that was 24, 4, and 5 in his first game as a Dallas Maverick. And the Mavs won the game.
You should have seen the buckets that he was getting. He had one layup where he kept it in the left hand and he like switched it. He like fake switched it. Then he switched it back to the left, all in a matter of like 2.5 steps.
Yeah.
It's just his skill level is ridiculous.
I can say whatever I want about my favorite Mavericks of all time. I am not sure if I've ever seen somebody wear that uniform and be able to do that while hanging in the lane.
Yeah, Daryl Harbor was good and all, but he ain't have that handle.
No. Mark Aguirre didn't do that.
Didn't do that.
He didn't. And Dirk certainly didn't.
He didn't have that in his bag either.
Rolando Blackman.
Yeah,
Rolando Blackman.
He didn't have his bag either.
He did not do all that. That was fun to watch last night as a fan, I got to tell you. All right, so we'll get into all that. We got, Super Bowl, and there's a lot of stuff, but let's get back into this hip-hop thing because we fired up the text line. Let's go Why Today Matters. By the way, National Pizza Day today. Get yourself some za. And on the sports side, Danny White, 71. Happy birthday to one of my favorite the first Cowboy quarterback I had. And I know what he is and what he isn't, but he's the first guy for me. Happy birthday to Danny. Happy birthday to Saquon Barkley, who turns 26 today. So, Zay, Ice-T was 45 on this list, is what you said?
45. We can go from 50.
Okay.
We can go from 50. We got a little time.
So, we went 10-1 on this list, and there are 50 there. You think we can
This is Billboard, by the way, y'all. This isn't me and Shad. Some of y'all are coming at us like it's us making this list. It isn't us.
This is Billboard. I tell you what, why don't we do a reasonable amount? Why don't we go top half? Give
25.
Let's go 25 back up to 10, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Why don't we do that? Because I think that might be a little more little something we can chew on here. So let's start with 25.
Method Man.
Okay. M-E-T.
Man. Yeah. KRS-One.
Ooh, KRS-One is 24?
Yes, he's 24. He's, Boogie Down Productions.
I always felt like that guy had a lot of respect in the business.
Yeah,
so
he does.
That tells me, at least, that I feel like I was somewhat right there.
Oh, my gosh. This is such a bad list sometimes.
All right, what happened?
23, Curtis freaking Blow.
Curtis Blow?
Wow. I get it. He's a pioneer, but come on, y'all.
You wouldn't have him on the list at all.
Hey, let's move, let's dance around, and we coming down, and we getting down. Let's do it, man. Let's hula hoop. Oh, man, there's an ice cream scoop. That's not that. We can't do that. That we can't put that in the list, Chad. As fun and bubblegum as it is, I'm sorry. I know they're trying to pay homage. I get it. They're trying to do that a lot on this list. That ain't it. Behind the back and a left-hand pass. Oh, man, look at that good hair. Like, come on. Come on, Mike.
I would like you to finish that. Make a song for me. I want to hear that, please. Wow. Okay, Curtis Blow.
Curtis Blow, 23, whatever.
Zay's not a fan. Okay, 22?
Ghostface Killer.
Okay.
I like that.
That one you like. Does that feel, and that feels about right, number-wise?
Yeah, man. Supreme Clientele, his 2000 album, one of my favorites of all time.
So far, listening to the Wu-Tang stuff, he's really, really good. And he's, to me, that is one of the greatest names I've ever heard in music.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah,
Ghostface
no
Killer is awesome. Okay, go ahead. 21.
DMX.
Ooh. Bark. Is DMX better than that for you, or is that about right?
Then Ghostface Killer? Yeah.
You think he should go up a little higher?
I think so.
Okay. So, yeah, one spot better than Ghostface Killer. Would you put him into the top 20, though?
We'll see. Let's go down this
All right,
list.
here we go.
Number 20, Big Daddy Kane. I put him over him. Even though I love some Big Daddy Kane.
Big Daddy Kane got top 20 love?
I'm saying.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
19, Missy Elliott.
19's Missy. Okay.
18, where Jeff Howe has a huge problem with, Ice Cube.
I'm with Jeff. I'd forgotten about Cube right at the beginning of it, but he's right. If we're talking about the pure ability to rap, Ice Cube is 18 and Drake is 8.
See, that's what I'm saying. People forget,
They're 10 spots different?
Like a lot of people, especially during, this era who weren't born, like it's Gen Z and beyond, they see Ice Cube and they think, are we there yet? The funny movie star. They don't think hardcore street rapper, NWA, F the Police Ice Cube.
He's so good. He's so good. Yeah, 18's too low. I don't know where it needs to be. Doesn't need to be 18, though. All right, who's 17?
50 Cent.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that one either.
You don't know?
I don't think 50 should not be top 20.
Okay, a little too high for you.
I mean, Get Rich or Die Trying, that's in a lot of people's top 5 albums. He should not be top 20.
So maybe 25, 30, somewhere in there?
We'll have to see the list for that.
Okay. All right, 16.
Scarface
Ooh.
from Ghetto Boys.
Okay.
The only Texas rapper in the top 20.
Well, that just seems wrong. Our man Chris B said Pimp C needs to be top 5.
Bun B, I don't know where Bun B was, but Bun B made the list. Yeah, I don't know if Pimp's going to make it.
I love that. All right, so Scarface 16. How about 15?
J. Cole.
J. Cole.
J. Cole.
At 15. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
14, LL Cool J.
LL Cool J at 14. Is that deserved? Does LL need to be that high?
Top 20, maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all subjective,
Yeah.
13, Rakim.
Okay.
Eric B. Well, just
Eric B.
Rakim,
Rakim.
but everybody knows him, Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
12, Andre 3000.
Okay. Andre 3000.
He's the highest on this list for a person that was in the group.
Is Andre? Oh, okay. That's a good way to say that. Is Andre, for you, is he that good? Is he top 12, top 15 good as a rapper?
No.
Okay.
Are you good without Big Boy? We'll never know. Yeah, I mean, the Hey Ya era, we consider that hip hop? I don't. Hey Ya, whoa. Like, that's really his only solo stuff. That's what he's most known for solo-wise. That ain't hip hop. Nobody gonna consider that hip hop, MCing, rapping. You know what I'm saying? But with Big Boy, he is a great. It's just Big Boy's great too. Like, I don't know. That's tough. And people love Andre 3000. He's a wordsmith, lyricist. I see that, but just
you didn't think it was hip hop, huh?
Hey Ya.
All right. I said now, fellas.
Yeah.
What's cooler than being cool?
It's not. I'm sorry. 11.
Yeah.
Kanye West.
Okay, so let's have this conversation because I was going to ask you earlier. Kanye is take everything else out of it. And if you're talking about hip hop and the ability to do that, the ability to rap, Kanye is lower than Drake? I'm not in this world. I'm not an expert. Tell me that makes sense to you because to me, Kanye greater than Drake.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where, they started meshing Drake as a whole instead of Drake just as a rapper. You can't do the singing stuff like, oh man, you can't do all that. You can't put that in this list.
That doesn't count you as a rapper at that point if you too much singing?
No.
Come on, Eminem had a song where he tried to sing.
Superman?
He admitted he sucked at it, but what was the one for his daughter? Wasn't that the one where he had tried to sing? The Haley song?
I don't remember. I'm glad I haven't heard it. Or if I have heard, I'm glad it's erased my mind. Because I can't picture him singing.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm not gonna sing it for you, but I think that's the song. The song about Haley. Okay, so Kanye at 11, and then if you missed the top 10 earlier, Nicki Minaj 10, Snoop at 9, Drake at 8, Lil Wayne 7, Biggie at 6, Eminem 5, Tupac 4, 3 is Nas, 2 is Kendrick Lamar, 1 is Jay-Z. I think my favorite text so far that we've gotten is somebody asking for Lil Wayne to get more respect. More than 7? Is he that good?
Chad, that era that he had from 2002 to maybe 09
Mm-hmm.
is one of the greatest hip hop runs we're ever gonna see. Because yeah, he had his albums, but he was dropping mixtapes that people think should have won Grammys.
Okay.
Like free material, like mixtapes that go straight online. You know, he's not getting any money off this just from his name. Like it's not the same album sales and like rapping on other people's beats. He might be known for that. Like I think he's the greatest mixtape rapper of all time. That's not even close.
Okay. All
So
right.
if you consider that, he's top 10. And I get why that person's vouching for him.
Okay, so they're vouching for him at 7, but they're also asking for him to get more love. So
Yeah, I hear it. I get it.
Okay, so let me check these other 6. I'm just making sure. Lil Wayne or Kendrick Lamar?
Tie.
Really?
I can't do it.
Okay.
Tie, yeah.
Lil Wayne or Jay-Z?
Hove.
Lil Wayne or Nas?
Nas.
Lil Wayne or Biggie?
Big.
Lil Wayne or Eminem?
Tie.
Wow, you stopped there.
Tie.
I didn't expect you to stop. Lil Wayne or Tupac?
Pop.
Okay. So Eminem and Kendrick are the ones you said you'd put even. You're putting Lil Wayne on that level.
Yeah.
With Eminem and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tells me something. That's another guy I've never listened to a whole record. I've heard songs here and there. I've never listened to an entire Lil Wayne album.
He had rappers afraid to make hits because he knew Wayne would take the beats and murder it. Rappers were like, man, if I make a hit, Wayne, and it's a great beat, Wayne's just going to take my beat and maybe make it a better song. Like during that time, rappers were really thinking about those things.
Wait a minute. Was this in the days before they figured out all the money to where you could get money? He wouldn't take it and then they don't make money?
No, because you can't go, because you'll get sued if you do that.
Right, but
so let's say LL Cool J dropped a song that he put on his album, great song, it was a hit. Wayne would take the beat, just put it online for free, and everybody will be going nuts. And that's all you would hear.
And then he would rap over it?
And he would just rap over the beat.
Oh my God.
So anybody who had a famous beat during like he dominating Beyonce beats, Jay-Z beats, it's just Wayne's mixtape era. We'll never see anything like that again.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. The all-time greatest hip-hop artist. It is a Billboard list that many people are discussing, and we got some great texts coming in here. We'll get a couple of those before we're done. Also, stems and seeds coming up. We'll get you ready for tonight. Got a special night of programming for you, including a flex show if you love your high school sports, and a couple of Longhorn shows. We'll line them up for you next on The Horn. All right, just about to wrap it up on a Thursday. Do I have any shot here?
You should. I thought you would hear the first part where he said his name.
See, I heard the name I heard him say it and I missed it when he went by. My bad. Who is it?
Wayne.
Lil Wayne. Okay, you went
Yeah.
by Lil Wayne. Okay. Yeah. We've determined today I do need to listen to some Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne getting 7 status on this all-time hip-hop list. Zay, real quick, we've had some people asking where Will Smith and Macklemore are on the list. Can you double-check that for me, please?
They didn't make it.
They did not make the list.
Unfortunately, Fresh Prince didn't make it either.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody said that Kendrick Lamar's record won this year controversially because a few years ago a Macklemore record beat out one of his best. Is that true?
No Macklemore record should ever beat Kendrick Lamar in anything. Grammys, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Oh my God, that is fantastic. I have seen Macklemore live, and it was a good show. But in terms of hip hop, I agree with you. He should not be considered above Kendrick Lamar.
That's a joke
on any kind of list.
That's a joke.
That is wild. All right, lots of good hip hop talk today, and also I have discovered an album that I'm going to make Zay listen to. It's perfect for him. He's never heard the Body Count album from Ice-T. Oh, Zay, there's maybe never been a better version of the world of rap and the world of metal coming together than what Ice-T pulled off with Body Count. And he scared everyone he even scared us to death. Metal people, he scared rap people, he scared everybody with that album. It was so good.
He might be on the Mount Rushmore as the most range that you could have in Hollywood, going from gangster rapper talking about cop killer, like you just said,
it's the name
to
of the
becoming
track. Yes.
a detective on one of the most iconic shows of all time, Law and Order SVU.
And now he's doing commercials for Car Shield, too. Have you seen those? Whereas you want to have some insurance in case your car breaks down. It's
and
like,
his woman. Have you seen
what?
Coco?
I have.
The man has range.
She was at the Grammys. Both of them were.
Yes. He's a GOAT in his own right. Wherever GOAT you try to put him in, he's a GOAT.
He is fantastic. All right, let's get you some stems and seeds here before we're done. Oh, man.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
All right, brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678 or avconsultations.com. Tonight is the NFL Honors if you want to watch it, 8 o'clock on NBC and NFL Network. And we find out tonight, I believe, who's in the Hall of Fame, right? So DeMarcus Ware, Rondé Barber, and some of those guys find out tonight. I'm rooting for those two guys big time.
Yeah, definitely DeMarcus Ware. I think it's a pretty thick list, so I think it's going to be tough for Rondé Barber. But, yeah, all those guys deserving, and let's see who gets in.
Yeah, that's going to be tonight, and Coach of the Year and the MVP and all that stuff. That will happen tonight, 8 o'clock on NBC. Tonight right here on The Horn, it got Ball Don't Lie coming up with Rod and Harge. Longhorn Weekly at 7 with Rodney Terry to talk about that first-place basketball team. The Flex Show at 8, special edition this week on a Thursday, and then Longhorn Blitz podcast. If you missed it last night, get the replay to you tonight at 9 with the fellas breaking down Longhorn football and all the stories of the week, including Roberson's commitment or Roberson's signing, I should say, and then Savion Red heading to the running back room. Thanks to everybody who helped out today. Thanks to Super Bowl Stu. Thanks to Texas Truck and Trailer Big Game Coverage helping us out there. Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett. We'll get that interview up for you at hornfm.com. Thanks to Brandon Lang as well. Jeff Howe, our man Zach Lucero. Earl and Tony are up. Beautiful. Earl and Tony up for you at we'll get it up at hornfm.com. Go check it out. They were awesome. We'll be back tomorrow for Friday show. Cross your fingers on this one. Tomorrow at 1:45, Nate Boyer might join us. Zay's not going to give up the Where We At in Society segment for much, but he said he'd give it up for Nate Boyer because he's a great American, just like Nate Boyer. We'll talk to Nate tomorrow, hopefully from Radio Row. Get you some other Friday stuff. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow.